And tonight we will be commercial free for the early green flag racing, about 43 miles. As a matter of fact, brought to you by our partners at Smithfield Foods. 43 miles of commercial free coverage here on NBC. The drivers are strapped into the cars, getting ready for the command. Team members making last minute words of encouragement to these drivers. As you mentioned, the crew chiefs chatting with them, now up on their pit box. Getting ready to go 160 laps, 400 miles. As we're closing in on 11:30 here on this, the 5th of July. Let's get it underway. We go forth to command.
And now for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your Grand Marshal, Executive Director for the Greater Jacksonville Area USO, Mike O'Brien.
Drivers, start your engines.
Crank it up. Sandy, how are you? You're right up there? Where are you at? Yes, sir.
Rendezvous with destiny. What a race this has been. Here goes Yarborough.
There's the checkered flag, and Dale Earnhardt wins.
In sports, some places are special. And in auto racing, that place is Daytona, where racing royalty has ruled this grand stage.
Richard Petty has won the 200th race of his career.
These walls are filled with history. And we've watched in awe incredible moments of triumph
Finally!
and extreme danger.
Uh-oh, we've got a problem.
The daring nature of the race to victory only adds to the drama. But the risk is also the reason why winning here means so much.
Jeff Gordon and the Rainbow Warriors.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. using lessons learned from his father. Crashing behind him as Jimmy completes the sweep.
Tonight, we celebrate the memories as we prepare for more at Daytona.
About to kick off the Coke Zero 400, powered by Coca-Cola, Daytona International Speedway. Engines are fired, and we're fired up, ready to go.
I'm ready. I'm ready to see some racing.
We've waited a long time to see some racing. I think everybody's excited. All the fans in the grandstands are excited. We're excited. Everybody at home's waited a long time.
You hear the roar of the crowd. The engines fired. The car's about to roll out onto the racetrack. The anticipation. It took about 3 hours longer than what everyone was expecting, but the anticipation building for the green flag of this one.
Yeah, I mean, the anticipation is the toughest part. I mean, you work, it's not just here. You know, they've been working on these cars for weeks, if not months, to come down to Daytona. They've been in the wind tunnel. They've gathered a plan. Speedway racing is the one chance a year where the car really seems to dominate. The shops take this very personal. The engine shops take this very personal. There's a tremendous amount of work that's put these 43 cars on the grid.
Think about this, too. This is the first time they've been in these cars for 2 days. Right. We got rained out. Qualifying got rained out yesterday, so this is the first time these cars have been on the racetrack. The drivers have been buckled in these cars, so it's been going on longer than just a day. This started yesterday.
Because of the rain that went through, the competition caution scheduled for lap 25. It's a little over halfway through a fuel run. We're expecting the fuel window to be around 45 to 48 laps. They won't be able to add fuel prior to that competition caution if they do decide to come onto pit road.
You know, that's one thing we have to keep in mind is this slate is already late, or this start is later than we thought. The track is green, so I think handling is going to be, you know, the handling is going to be the less of effect that we've ever seen, even if the race would have just been a few hours earlier.
There's the 48 car about to roll out. Chad Canales just on the radio made a comment about the fans. Listen in.
I'd like to say thank you to all these amazing fans that hung out with us here tonight. It's good to see you all sitting up there. It's actually pretty darn full. Looks good. You guys are in for a good show tonight.
And that might have been one of the roars that we heard out of the crowd, because a lot of the fans will be able to have scanners and listen into their favorite drivers or all of the drivers. And so they'll listen into that communication between crew chief, driver, and spotter. And so that was nice of Chad Knaus to acknowledge the fans directly. What a great turnout it is for this race, and the fact that they're still here. It's just at 11:30 now, at the bottom of the hour, as we're getting ready to see the green flag. The cars rolling off of pit road now. Brad Keselowski having some radio issues we're being told, so they are taking care of that. He won't lose his spot though.
No, you know, at this point, basically the most important thing is find what the issue is, repair the issue, especially with your radio at the Speedway. You have to have it, but you see this at time. You know, when you have these rain delays, the rain can get down in the radio. Sometimes it's kept by the left side door opening. It's easy to get water on those connections and lose the radio.
All right, let's take a look at tonight's starting grid, brought to you by Smithfield Foods. On the front row, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Austin Dillon. Jr., a three-time Daytona winner. Austin Dillon won the Xfinity race yesterday.
Row 2, two drivers that desperately need a win, Clint Boyer and Paul Menard.
Starting fifth tonight, our 2011 Daytona 500 winner, Trevor Bayne.
Back in row 4, David Reagan. His first career win came in this race in 2011.
Row 5, in ninth position, Jamie McMurray's a two-time winner here.
Outside row 6, Jimmy Johnson, three-time Daytona winner, six-time champion of our series.
Starting 13th, Kyle Busch won this race in 08. Won last week in Sonoma, but he is in a backup car.
Starting 15th, Casey Mears. Top 10 finishes in the last 4 races here.
Starting 17th tonight, Ryan Newman, also a Daytona 500 winner back in 2008.
Matt Kenseth, also a Daytona 500 winner 2 times. He starts 20th.
Row 11, there's always an upset winner. Could have come from this row.
An emotional night for this guy. Jeff Gordon rolls off 23rd in his final start at Daytona.
Back in row 13, Greg Biffle. His first career win came in this race in 2003.
2 teammates starting next to each other, Danica Patrick and Kurt Busch.
We talked about sleepers at the beginning of the show. Is tonight the night that Ricky Stenhouse can break through in victory lane?
Tony Stewart won this race 4 times. He will start in row 16.
Check out row 17. A good chance of winners coming out of this row. Joey Logano and Kevin Harvick.
Speaking of winners, our defending winner of this event, Eric Almirola, will roll off 36th.
Bobby Labonte, the 2000 Cup Series champion, starts in the 38th position.
In row 20, there's Jeb Burton. That's Jeb with a B. Jeb.
Josh Wise will roll off 42nd tonight.
And at the back of the field, Brendan Gaughan. Had his first Cup race was started right here in 2004, that Daytona 500. He finished 19th. We have the opportunity to chat with a driver tonight, that being Carl Edwards. Jeff, why don't we tune him in and see if we can talk to the driver of the 19.
Hey, Carl, it's Jeff Burton in the NBC booth. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Jeff. How you doing?
We're doing great up here. You started in the middle of the pack. How's that affect your strategy starting the race tonight?
Well, it's going to make it harder because our strategy is just to go to the front and lead the most laps. So starting in the middle, you know, anything can happen. You know how it is. But really proud of my guys. They've got us a great Subway Camry. It's our second car of the weekend, and they thrashed to get it, and it's you know, to get it done, and it's good. So hopefully we can put on a show here tonight and have a little bit of fun.
Okay, every race at Daytona is always different. What do you see as the biggest challenge to win in tonight's race?
Well, considering how late it is and how much has gone on today, you know, I think it'll be a race of mistakes. I think guys will be, you know, not just in the cars, but on pit road, you know, up on the box. I mean, it's been a long day for everyone, so there might be some mistakes, things you have to overcome, and just stay focused, avoid the wreck, and hopefully have a little bit of luck.
Well, how does the track condition look right now with all the rain?
It really looks pretty good. Those air tights do a good job, and there's just a little bit of moisture up here. I'm running through turn 3, and right up by the fence there's a little bit, but really it looks good. We can go racing any minute.
Okay, so with the track being cooler because of the rain and it's later at night, do you think handling's going to be an issue at all, or do you think it's just wide open all night long?
Well, I think because of how late we're starting, you know, everybody's probably, I think we'll have long green flag runs, and I think the handling might actually come into play at the very end of the runs, but you know, if we were going to race tomorrow, it'd be a completely different race. So right now, I think you're right. I don't think handling will be a big issue. It'll be horsepower, picking the right line, and staying out of trouble.
All right, well, good luck. Go have fun.
All right, man. I hope you're having a good time up there.
We are definitely having a good time.
There's been issues with the two of Brad Keselowski. He stopped on the racetrack. Dave, what's happening?
So he believed the problem was in the steering wheel, thinks the steering wheel is bad. I don't know if they actually replaced the steering wheel, but they at least took it off. And that was something drivers often do, is stop to re-index the wheel to make sure it's in the position they want. They can hear Brad, Brad can hear them. So it sounds good right now for the two on the radio.
That's a good thing. He was indexing his wheel. So he will get back up to speed, catch up to the pack. We're going to ride along with a few different drivers, one of those being Eric Almirola. He has the Smithfield in-car camera. He'll start in the 36th position in that number 43. The Jimmy Johns on board will start 34th in the number 4, driven by Kevin Harvick. Tony Stewart has the Mobil 1 in-car camera. He starts 31st tonight. Danica Patrick with the Coke Zero onboard camera. She starts 27th this evening. Just heard from and saw Carl Edwards. He carries the Subway onboard camera. He'll start 24th tonight. 24 of Jeff Gordon has the Sprint onboard. He'll start in the 23rd position. Kyle Larson in the 42 with the Coca-Cola onboard camera starts 16th tonight. And a great perspective at the back of the pace car is Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that Nationwide. He has the Nationwide in-car camera with him. He starts first. And Steve, let's take a look at the Mobil 1 performance factors.
So you wouldn't think of track positioning as being a key performance factor here at Daytona. When I look back though at the average running position of our last 4 winners, I see some really low numbers. That tells me that this place is narrow. Pack racing fills up the groove very wide, very quickly. If you were lucky enough to gain track position early, you need to maintain that track position through pit strategy, blocking, and aggressive driving. I think that's the key to running up front and having a chance to win tonight.
So that's the key to running up front. There are a lot of storylines we're going to follow this evening. And for more on those storylines, let's go to pit road and Marty Snyder.
Well, Rick, a lot of teams come into this race under a massive amount of pressure to get themselves into the chase for the Sprint Cup Series championship. That is not the case for Jimmy Johnson. He has 4 wins so far this season, obviously very comfortably so far in the chase for 2015. And because of that, Johnson told me earlier, quote, "We're going to bring a big bat tonight and swing it very hard," end quote. Johnson promises to be very aggressive, and Mike Massaro, a very aggressive Jimmy Johnson, could be a fun Jimmy Johnson to watch tonight.
Indeed, something else that's fun to watch is the end of an era. Over the years, it's been a majestic combination, an iconic driver and an iconic venue. It was 20 years ago that Jeff Gordon scored the first of his 6 Daytona wins. Tonight, though, he'll run his final laps on these hallowed grounds, but it marks an opportunity. An opportunity not only for him to add to his legacy, but with a win, also punch his ticket to the chase. Kelly Stavist.
Mike, last year, Eric Almirola brought the iconic 43 car back to victory lane here at Daytona. Tonight, Austin Dillon hopes to do the same with the iconic 3. The last time the 3 car won this race was back in 1993 with Dale Earnhardt. Austin Dillon was just 3 years old. Well, if he can get it done tonight, it'll be his first career Sprint Cup victory, and he's off to a fantastic start this weekend. He won the Xfinity Series race last night, and oh, by the way, he'll be starting on the front row next to Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dave.
Kelly, when Dale Earnhardt Jr. fired up the 88, his team told him to let it idle for a while. That car has been sitting for a long time. Well, idle is not a word you think of with Dale Earnhardt Jr. at Daytona. He's got a great car here tonight. It was fastest in practice on Friday. That's why he will start first, over 202 miles per hour. He's got the best pit stall, the last one on pit lane. He has a great spot to take another victory this year. Remember, his first victory was at Talladega. That's the one that put him in the chase. Another chance tonight. Rick?
Absolutely. Thanks, Dave. Want to take a closer look at Daytona International Speedway with the Coke Zero track facts. 2.5 mile super speedway. 31 degrees of banking. That's what they're going through right now in the corners. The tri-oval banked at 18 degrees. Front stretch is 3,800 feet, 3,000 feet on the back stretch. The Coke Zero race facts for this race. 160 laps, 400 miles. Pit road speed 55 miles per hour. The fuel window 45 to 48 laps, Steve.
Yeah, we already heard Carlos speak about it earlier. You know, he expects some long green flag runs. If we have those and people try to stretch his fuel window closer to that 48 lap number, these guys are going to have to consider their handling, even on a green racetrack with tons of grip. Daytona in February had some handling issues, and I would expect tonight there's some chance for these cars to start sliding around late in the fuel run.
And some teams opted for a full, slick, low downforce package. They wanted as little drag on the car as they could. They were not anticipating handling being an issue at all. Others, the exact opposite. They thought handling was going to become a big issue. But this race going that late, I believe the guys that have the advantage are the ones that didn't worry too much about handling, made their cars slick, and they'll go faster. I think that'll be a big advantage tonight.
Take a look at this camera on the front of the 42, the bumper camera.
What a great perspective. It really shows you on the front bumper of the 42 how close it is to the asphalt. It really shows you the speed and the closeness in which these cars are going to be running tonight.
What a great perspective. Thank you so much for staying with us. Your patience will definitely pay off. The lights are off on the pace cars. They come out of turn number 4. Pace car will be making the hard left turn, putting the field in the hands of Dale Earnhardt Jr. He got that position by being the fastest in the first practice. No qualifying, set the order by practice on Friday. We welcome you back to NASCAR on NBC as they make their way into the tri-oval. Green flag back in the air. Kyle Larson, the first to jump out of line in that 42, makes it 3 wide as they come out of turn number 2.
He'll have to have somebody go with him. If not, he'll fall back. You see Busch trying to pull up on him as a 3 wide getting into 3.
And they were 4 wide. Jamie McMurray had to go down below the double yellow line, but he was just trying to avoid being involved in an accident. Now it's Austin Dillon on the high side with the momentum. Dillon wants to take the lead at Daytona. The 3 leading at Daytona, the first lap of the Coke 0400. There's the vantage point of Kyle Larson as he looks forward to the 48 of Jimmy Johnson.
That gives you a great perspective of just how low the rear of these cars are to the racetrack. You see the 48, it kind of comes up a little bit on the straightaway. As we get down here into turn 3, though, you're going to watch that rear bumper travel down into the corner as it gets closer to the racetrack. You see right there, that's just the force pushing down on that car as it enters the corner.
Austin Dillon jumped out front. He's been able to lead Paul Menard, Dale Earnhardt Jr., David Gilliland, Clint Boyer, your top 5.
You saw Austin when he took the lead, he immediately went to the bottom. We saw in last night's race, the bottom was the best. After watching that, I believe he thinks that's what he wants to do tonight. Even though his teammate helped pushed him to the lead, he kind of hung him out, hung a left, put his car on the bottom.
3 wide behind him. Have you noticed already Austin Dillon is blocking? He's running the high line, he's running the low line, trying to stay in front.
And that's what you have to do at plate racing. If you're not willing to block, you're not going to keep this lead, and you will not win this race tonight. You have to, whatever lane's coming, you have to turn and get in front of that lane. We saw it, we see it done correctly there. If it's done incorrectly, there'll be a wreck.
And around they go. The 38 goes sideways. David Gilliland sideways as they come out of turn number 4. Also involved, the 22 of Logano. The 32. Multiple cars involved in this one. Joey Logano damage to the right rear. It's the 26 of Jeb Burton involved. Saw the 38 of Gilliland. The 10 of Danica Patrick. Looks like she has damage to the right side.
The field out of 2. Litter's bad. 10 away.
Sheet metal about to fall off the 22. Also some damage on the 46 of Michael Annett. Let's look back to what had just happened. Coming out of turn number 4.
see right here, the 38's coming down to change lanes. There isn't room. He comes across the front bumper of the 15, spins him to the bottom, and the field very tight. You see farther back into the field, the 16 and the 10 get to the back, and the 22 spinners up across the track. And that's what happens in these tight packs. When there's a spin way up in front of the pack, everyone gets out of the gas, and it's so hard when you're only a couple feet apart. Another hard impact there with the 32 and the 38. When you're that close, you don't have enough room. If you don't slow down the exact same rate, someone gets spun out.
And you see right here, David, he's one to be on the bottom of the racetrack. He wants to get behind the 88 because he thinks that's the best line, but he just doesn't have it synced up. He did not get a good view of the 15, turned down on the 15s. Nothing Clint Boyer could do right there. All he could do is get into him, and then everything behind him was just as a result of trying to miss this wreck. Give it a ride with Tony Stewart. Coming off turn 4, he sees the smoke, slow it down.
Come all the way down if you want to. Slow down right there. Slow down. Come on, come on.
Riding on the 10 car.
Spinning, back it down, back it down, back it down. Stay high, you're all good.
Right along with Eric Almirola.
They're by themselves. Still outside. Spin. Very bottom. Just stay high. Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. You're all good. You're all good. Brake hard.
And you could hear in that, you could hear Eric Almirola lift off the throttle. You could hear him slowing down, and the guys behind him, they just couldn't get. You saw Joey Logano trying to slow down. Somebody got into the back of him, got him turned around. That's a typical Daytona wreck right there. Dave, you got some on the 22?
And now it's damage control time for the chase-safe Daytona 500 winner, Joey Logano. They'll put an entire right rear quarter panel on that car that came off of the crash cart behind their pit box. They asked Joey if the wheel was straight. He said it's a little off. That may be of concern as they try to get him back out there. We've seen damaged cars go back to the front here at Daytona. Don't know if it'll be the case tonight. He's already lost one lap.
We saw the 38 of David Gilliland move down, trying to get in front of the 15 of Clint Boyer. Here's what the 15 team had to say on the radio.
I mean, he faded up, and then when he come back down, hell, you were to his wheel. Yeah, I tried to check up, but that was pretty stupid. If you'd have checked that much, you'd have got run over. That's why I didn't.
That's the unpredictability of Daytona. He couldn't check up. He had people behind him. Here are the cars that are involved. Joey Logano has that all-important winner sticker on his car as far as he is headed to the chase. The 9 of Sam Hornish Jr. involved in this one. Marty.
And Rick, let's give an attaboy to Sam Hornish Jr., who did a fantastic job. He actually did 2 360s, and when the car was going backwards, he told the team, I had the clutch in. Kevin Bono Mannion told everybody, take your time, fix everything you can. They don't have a lot of damage on that 9 car. That's the good news. They came in, fixed all the flat spotted tires, and took on 4 tires. Danica Patrick on pit road trying to get repairs done to her car. Right front damage, fairly significant on the number 10 car, Mike.
And the 16 of Greg Biffle, I wouldn't say it's insignificant damage, but they can race with it. It seems like they got dinged up on all 4 corners, both front fenders. You can see the rear quarter panel as well. Lots of bear bond on that machine. Expect them to come back down pit road and complete the repairs, however. They were able to get them down off the jack stand and try to get them back out of the racetrack before losing too much lap time. And they're expected to come back down and complete what they had begun last time down pit road.
So Greg Biffle will be making his way back onto pit road. Danica Patrick there now.
I've been in the right place.
Check out NBC Sports Live Extra to live stream tonight's race with additional camera angles, interactive driving stats, track information available on your laptop, tablet, or smartphone, and connected TVs. NBC Sports Live Extra brings you closer to every race. And tonight, we're going to be commercial free for the early green flag racing. That's brought to you by our partners at Smithfield Foods. This is Danica.
Spinning, back it down, back it down, back it down. Stay high, you're all good.
And you see that whole time she's looking in her mirror. She never took a hard hit, but you can see her looking at the left side. She's looking in the rearview mirror on the left A post just to see if somebody was coming from behind. It was easy to see out front, but she was trying to help if somebody was coming from behind to try to not get run her quite as hard.
Joe Logano's penalty, he came out after the pace car had already gone past that line on the wall or pit out and then tried to go to the back of the field, but that's a penalty.
Yeah, you have to beat the pace car to that line. That blue line on pit wall basically syncs up with the end of pit road. NASCAR does it. It's a judgment call. There's a light you see there, but the race car driver, he's going to try to beat the pace car, and I don't blame him, but they're going to have to hold him, take his lap back. He'll lose a lap in that situation.
And the team was just trying to stay on pit road as long as they could so they could get as much repair work done, and they just stayed there just a touch too long.
Austin Dillon's the race leader. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to restart second. Paul Menard, Casey Kane, Clint Boyer. They're your top 5. Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards, Jeff Gordon up in the top 10. Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski also in the top 10.
Yeah, that crash being so close to the front of the field has really helped some guys. Keselowski with a poor starting position. Carl Edwards, Keselowski's gained 22 spots. Carl Edwards 17. When you have an accident that far up in the front of the field and you're fortunate enough to get through it, it's an easy way to gain your track position quickly.
Riding along with Tony Stewart as he looks at a daunting task. Look at all the cars in front of him as we're getting ready for the restart. Another one that has a lot of cars in front of him is Kevin Harvick at Jimmy John's number 4. Field 2x2 once again. Pace car will make the hard left turn onto pit road. It's Austin Dillon this time is your race leader. He's on the inside. Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the outside. Austin Dillon won the Xfinity race last night, trying to go for the double. Green flag back in the air.
A battle of teammates at the front of the field. 2 Hendrick cars up top, 2 RCR cars down bottom.
Yeah, and on that restart, they weren't packed up very tight. I think as this race goes on, when we see these restarts, the 2nd and 4th place car, they're going to be on the rear bumpers of the 1st and 3rd place car trying to push them. They hadn't quite got organized. Again, had been in the car for 2 days and had a chance to practice that. That'll get better as the day goes.
That outside line working well. We see Dale Earnhardt Jr. surge out to the lead. A little help from Casey Kane in the 5 behind him, his teammate. Of the field going by the grandstands. Dale Earnhardt Jr. out in front. A familiar sight here at Daytona.
See Dale, he's kind of picking the middle lane. He's not really trying to help either lane. He saw the 5 car gain a little bit, so he pulled up in front of the 5 of Casey Kane, try to block that advance. You're going to see him do that over and over and over.
There's that front bumper cam of Kyle Larson. He looks forward at Carl Edwards. NASCAR's going to black flag the 22. The damage that they have on that car, they've decided he needs to come to pit road. So they'll have to continue to work on that. The defending Daytona 500 champion now on pit road to try to fix that car.
And I don't think this is what the field wanted to see. We saw in the practices on Friday, Dale Earnhardt Jr. appeared to have the fastest car, and I think everybody in the garage kept talking about him and his speed. I'm not sure that they want him out front. They want to find a way to shuffle him back into the middle of the pack.
It's pressing me how much he can stay out front. He stays 1 or 2 car lengths in front of the 5 consistently.
3 wide behind him. Clint Boyer in the 15, one of those cars that's in that 3 wide position. Carl Edwards as well in the 19. Denny Hamlin back there in that middle line. 32 of Bobby Labonte involved in the first accident. An incident, had to go to the infield care center. He was checked and released.
See this 3 wide battle from the back straightaway. You don't want to be 3 wide right now. Sometimes you just get stuck there. You really want to be double file. 3 wide will be much slower than the cars in front of them.
They're lining up on the high line now, following after that 88. Take a look at this move by Kyle Larson.
See Kyle is behind Carl Edwards. Gets a run, hangs a left, drives underneath him, drives underneath Clint Boyer. That's the way it works here. You get that momentum going, man, you got to make a move, and he made it quick.
And he was within inches of the bumper in front of him before he made that left turn.
That perspective got me. I might have closed my eyes. I think I knew it was coming, and it still scared me as close as he got to that car in front of him.
You thought there was going to be a little bump drafting.
It was. It's amazing how much in control these guys are in an out-of-control situation.
We mentioned the unpredictability of Daytona. Hendrick Motorsports, if the past says anything, they're normally fairly good, and right now the present says they are the top 4.
I've been in those meetings years ago. I wouldn't say plate tracks were on the top of Hendrick Motorsports' priority list. It takes a tremendous amount of effort to run good here, and we came down here one year and underperformed. And I won't say he raised his voice, because Rick Hendrick rarely raises his voice, but he very sternly explained to us that Speedway racing mattered to him. And surprisingly enough, Hendrick's been pretty good ever since.
Yeah, I think he had 13 wins here and 23 plate wins overall. So, yeah, I'd say they've been pretty good.
Yeah.
Top 4 Hendrick drivers out in front. How about Kyle Busch in a backup car? Got a win a week ago at Sonoma. Has to continue to improve his points position to be eligible for the chase. He's got to get into the top 30 in points, but this is a backup car. He was involved in the big one in practice. How cautious does he have to be while he's out there?
Well, I'm of the opinion that cautious at a Speedway normally gets you into a crash. I think he needs to forget the backup car situation. He needs to try to put points in the back of his mind. He is a natural race car driver. He has a tremendous amount of talent. He needs to go out and race the day as it falls to him. What are you hearing down there, Dave?
Adam Stevens told me that the race car that they have on the track tonight is as good as the primary. That's because they spend so much time on the backup cars here. They think they're going to use 2 cars every weekend. They have to plan for that because the big ones do happen. And it happened in practice to them. They were prepared and have massaged that backup car to be as good as their primary.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's just part of Daytona. You know, you have to, and Talladega for that matter, you have to prepare for the worst to have the best opportunity to have a great weekend.
And you talked about being careful. You know, there's very difficult to be careful here. In my eyes, everybody in this front pack, they're racing hard. They're doing all they can. The guys in the second pack, they've decided. You see Jimmy Johnson making a big block on Keselowski. But
Jimmy moved down the track to try to block that too, but here comes Brad. Brad moving up into the top 3. Marty.
Rick, we've talked about all weekend long this debate about how Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson approach these restrictor plate races. I asked Jimmy about it earlier today, and he said actually Jeff Gordon asked about it in the competition meeting Friday. He said, why do you guys always want to run by yourself? How are you ever going to learn how your car will react right here when it's
Kyle Busch into the wall, Marty. Kyle Busch gets into the wall. We just mentioned how he potentially would have to be cautious. He can't have a bad finish.
Stay up there for about 15 more.
And into the wall goes Kyle Busch.
This is not what this team needed. They needed a clean run out of Daytona after their win last week. Got themselves a win, opportunity to make the chase, but they can't have bad races. There are only 10 races left to gain points to try to get in that top 30. This is not what they needed.
Come on down.
It was projected that they would have to average a 14th place finish the remaining 10 races before the chase.
Not bad. Tires here, fenders. Yep, tires and fenders right side.
And we're still on the green. The caution did not come out for this incident.
So we stay green, and that is bad for the 18, as he's going to start losing laps now.
You see him get on the outside of McMurray. He just gets loose. Just got in the corner, got loose, and bounced it up against the wall. Nobody got into him. But you know what? That's not uncommon here. Right and get into turn 1, you lose a lot of grip. You can see the back end get around on him. He has to chase it. There's nowhere to go. The only thing he can do is hit the wall.
So they go to work on the right side of the 18. We stay green. Still out front of the field, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dave.
Rick, you heard them talk about what they were going to do. Make sure that the wheel wells are clear, the fenders are clear, so the tires don't rub when he goes back out. That's what they're working on now. He said the wheel was a little off, similar to what happened to Logano. When you hit the wall, you knock that steering out. And they also said not to fuel the car. They have to remember that before the competition caution, they cannot put fuel in this 18 car.
138 points behind 30th. He was running in a position where he was only 110 points out of 30th.
Yeah, I mean, with the point system the way it is, they're going to have to do the best they can to put this car back together. But, you know, you have such a drastic penalty for poor finishes. Losing 1 point of position percentage-wise, when you run outside the top 20 or 25, it is really hard to gain points, and you lose a ton to somebody that has a good run.
Have to recognize Landon Castle in the 40. Currently running in the 3rd spot. Trying to make that outside line work is the 5 of Casey Kane. So he tries to get back by Landon Castle.
And we talked about Kyle Busch being out, and I know he's a tremendous race car driver, but we have to remember, he didn't get to race in the Daytona 500. He wasn't able to take part in Talladega. He really didn't get much practice down here. He ran 6 laps in the pack, then got into an accident. So here we are, you know, a few laps into the race, and he has basically a mistake. Got up high, got loose. And you have to ask yourself if that's something he may have would have learned if he would have got all his laps down here in February.
The one good thing he has going for him is right now he's the highest scored driver a lap down. And with a competition caution coming in about 5 laps, he's going to get at least one of those back.
And we're expecting to see more cautions throughout the night. So, and the more cars get eliminated, he could be in a position where he gets his lap back. And that one was so important about what they just did on pit road. You have to fix it right. You have to stay there until you fix it right. The worst thing you can do is not get it done correctly, go out and blow a right front tire, and then your night is truly over. So let's see if they did a good job of making sure all is finished.
Car still running 1, 2, 3, 4. Landon Castle's dropped back to the 5th spot now. There's Jamie McMurray just behind Jeff Gordon. McMurray trying to make that outside line work, as they have been able to distance themselves from Landon Castle in the 40. Brad Keselowski back there on the bottom just behind Castle.
Typical Dale Earnhardt.
As
soon as he feels like he can get enough people that are going to go with him, he's going to go to the top of the racetrack. He wants to try to drag everybody single file. He wants to make it where there is no advantage on the bottom. If he can get everybody lined up behind him and get on the top, he feels like he's in the safest position. The question is, who's going to decide they want to do that? And we'll see who decides to make it too wide and try to make a run to the front.
And that's the advantage you have with teammates early in a race. You know, late in the race, I question some of these teammates might be trying to pass him, gain position. But early in the race, they know a competition yellow is coming. They've worked for their track position. They want to keep it. They're going to line up right in line with him. You see Jimmy Johnson tucked up right behind the 88, running right around the top with him.
I think all the drivers after that early wreck, they're now just saying, hey, let's get to this competition caution. There's no sense in me wrecking my race car right now, so sometimes it's best just to be smart.
Yeah, in the first 22 laps, nobody's won this race, but there's a list of teams that have lost the race, and you don't want to be on that list.
A few drivers that were ducking down to the bottom of the racetrack, but as you mentioned, Jimmy Johnson staying right in the tire tracks of the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Marty?
Well, Rick, to finish what we were talking about, the approach that Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson take to this restrictor plate racing. They make single car runs in practice. They don't want to be in big pack. Jeff Gordon said, why do you do that? You're never going to learn about how your car needs to be right now in the race in a big draft. But Johnson told me, listen, we figured out that handling-wise, we're pretty much in a box. There's not a lot that we can do. We want to put as much speed as we can in our car, and that's why we focused on it for years. He said, I'm honestly surprised more teams haven't caught on to it. So, Steve, I'm wondering, how does that pay off for the 48, and might it pay off a little bit bigger tonight because it is so much cooler and handling might not be a factor?
Well, you're absolutely right, Marty. You know, this rain delay and the race being run later in the night is definitely working right in the 48's favor. Handling will be less of an issue. So if they do feel they've added some speed to their car, then it would be an advantage. But, you know, I remember some warmer races down here that the 48 come to the payout time, come to the pay window in the last few laps, didn't seem to have the handle on the race car. So it hasn't always worked to their advantage, but that's something about Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus. They have a tremendous amount of confidence. They have the resume to go with the confidence, so they're able to stand their ground and kind of approach the weekends how they want to.
see Jamie McMurray, he's drugged some people with him to try the inside line. He's made pretty decent ground. Matt Kenseth, Denny Hamlin, they saw that run coming. They ducked to the bottom. Now they want to lead that line that has momentum coming on the bottom.
Trying to keep the momentum up on the bottom of the racetrack. So we're closing in on the competition caution. NASCAR told us it would be around lap 25. Dale Jr. out in front. Jimmy Johnson behind him. Casey Kane. They all duck to the bottom of the racetrack now.
So now that inside line having momentum, that drug Earnhardt to the bottom. If the inside can make momentum, he can no longer just ride around the top. He's going to have to protect the bottom. And that's what all these guys on the inside lane were hoping for. If they could get a push, then maybe the fastest car in the field would have to go to the bottom, and that would make that inside line even faster.
And there's the competition caution.
Competition yellow here.
Field will slow down. The pace car will get in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. And now they will have an opportunity to come to pit road. They will be able to fuel these cars, do whatever adjustments they need to make.
And we mentioned Kyle Busch, who was in that accident earlier, got up into the fence. This will gain him 1 lap back. And we're only we're only 26 laps into this race. With 134 laps to go, the team needs to take this opportunity under yellow, where you have 3.5 minutes is what it takes for a caution lap here, to really inspect the car, to fix the car. Because from here on out, the goal would be to use this opportunity and continue to race for those laps back. There'll be 1 lap down. There's still a lot of opportunity to get right back in this. You get back in the lead lap, the draft is the big equalizer. That car will be just fine.
And you need to try to get that lap back early. What they're hoping for is an early caution, because the longer this race goes, the probability is we'll have more cars that are a lap down, and he'll then be racing people for that dog position.
I want to see what everyone does. Because earlier in the garage today, before the rain, when I walked around, it was, oh man, we're going to take 2 tires. We're going to take 4 tires. Everybody had a theory. I heard a lot of 4 tires. A lot of people thought handling were going to take part. The 4 car, I know Rodney Childers was of the opinion that he needed to keep tires on his car. But now that we're later in the evening, green racetrack, I have the feeling if I'm a crew chief on pit road, I'm aborting off the 4-tire plan. I'm putting 2 right side tires on it, filling up with fuel, trying to keep whatever track position I can.
And if I'm the driver, I'm telling him how my car is driving. My car is driving good. I'm wanting 2 tires or fuel only maybe. If it's driving bad, I'm wanting 4.
Here's something new that has been added to the pace car. That is a green light. That signifies that pit road is open. They have a light now in the back window of the pace car to let the drivers know if pit road is open or if it's closed. And so that light back there is indicating that pit road is open. So we're going to see the field make their way onto pit road. Marty.
Chad Knaus gave Jimmy Johnson a very detailed description of what he can expect when he comes to pit road. He's the 3rd stall on pit road. He said drive right through the 1's pit stall and you can drive straight out of your stall. Chad Knaus said it's going to be a very quick stop, top left hand of your corner of your screen. Johnson said the car was very good. You see the wedge adjustment, and that's it for Jimmy Johnson and fuel. Mike.
Jeff Gordon saying his car needs to be tightened up just a little bit. The call just for right side tires and a wedge adjustment. That's all on the 24. Dave.
Teams holding their cards very closely. Casey Kane starts with the right side. We'll see if they do 4. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s team has called for just 2 right side tires that both leave pit road.
Jimmy Johnson with an impressive pit stop. He advances 1 position. Gets in front of his teammate here at Daytona. Our biggest mover tonight's Denny Hamlin, already 30 spots. Biggest mover presented by Sprint. Join all-in wireless from Sprint. Get unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data. And pick your smartphone for just $80 a month. Early in this one, we are still under caution. We're live from Daytona. Kyle Busch started the weekend not so well in an accident, but since he's been back, it hasn't gone well either. Here is Dover.
Yeah, got together late in the race, having a good run. This was very late in the race. Ended up, ruining an opportunity to gain a lot of points and have a good finish.
Yeah, then here we are at Michigan. You see he just gets loose, gets a big slide off turn 4, corrects, gets into the wall. And then that really looked a whole lot like tonight. You see him enter turn 1 high, looking above the 1 car, kind of gets loose. He has to correct, gets up into the fence. That's 3 poor runs, almost mulligans that he can't afford to have. He tries to climb his way back into the top 30.
Still trying to get into the top 30 in points so he can be chase eligible. Here's what they had to say on the radio just moments ago.
How bad is it right there, driver? The splitters is killing the racetrack pretty bad. It's a 10 of a 10. The steering wheel seems to be in the same location I started the race in. So I don't know if it's suspension as much as it's just cosmetic.
Listen, it takes a lot of time to build these race cars. They're built in very fine-tuned areas. They're built on fixtures. They're measured to the thousandths of an inch. When you bounce one off the wall, things bend. And I know he's doing a great job of explaining what he's trying to feel. You're trying to fix it. But in a 3-minute caution lap, you can only repair so much. And that's unfortunately the fact. But that's what I love. That's what racing is. You have to take care of your equipment. As mechanically these cars get better, the brakes last, they seem like they last forever. The engines seem like they last forever. As a driver, Jeff, you still have to take care of your equipment.
You do. You know, one advantage he has here, if the suspension's not bent, if the wheels are straight and it drives okay, you know, the damage of the body may not hurt him too bad because he'll be in the pack. Now, I'm not saying he can necessarily lead a pack, but if he can just stay in a pack because of the drafting, then he may be okay.
You know, these sparks right here concern me because they're not really at speed yet. He's just catching up. So that tells me it's hopefully nothing serious, maybe just a mounting bolt or something on the right front splitter. You know, when you hit the fence, the nose can move down. We talk about all practice long how we try to set the front ride height to this small thousandths of an inch off the ground. Well, when you bounce one off the fence and that moves down a quarter or a half inch, it's now underground, and underground doesn't work. It drags the racetrack.
The 16 and the 18 both penalized for too many men over the wall, but obviously working to try to get those cars to be ready to go back out on the track and stay out there and be competitive.
Yeah, the penalties just tail end of the line. That's 2 crew chiefs being very efficient, getting their cars repaired.
The 15 and the 31 stayed out to lead a lap. The reason they did that is because right now they're kind of at the bottom of the chase list, trying to get as many points as they can. Pace cars off the field. Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr. the front row. Green flag back in the air.
See the 24 really pushing the 48. Big advantage right there. Casey Kane is not underneath Dale Earnhardt Jr. the way he needs the help.
I wonder if anybody can stay to the back bumper of the 80 on those restarts. Consistently, we've seen him drive off the nose of the car behind him.
Yeah, and I thought he was in trouble, but he just powered back by Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, he on his own has been able to get in front of the 48 without much help, as we see the 24 falling back on the outside line.
On these restarts, when both lanes are so organized, you cannot get taken 3 wide. We saw that happen to Dale Jr. in the Daytona 500 off turn 2. We've seen it happen right here at the Jeff Gordon. You have to maintain one of those 2 lanes.
And you get put 3 wide on the outside lane, there's not much help coming. That's not a lane that typically does well, so nobody's going to jump up there and try to help you. The only people that will are there the same reason you got there. They don't want to be there, they just happen to be there.
Yeah, no, the only good news for Jeff Gordon is there's 129 laps to go because he's going to have to work his way back towards the front.
In line now, but on the outside of 3 wide, Jeff Gordon fell back from being in the top 4. Gordon now all the way back to 21st.
It can happen that quick, Rick. That's what we talk about. It's not only the decisions that make you go forward, it's the decisions that stop you from going backward that can really benefit you over the course of this race.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, Casey Kane, and Matt Kenseth now our top 5.
Denny Hamlin with a strong move on the outside of Casey Kane. Earnhardt trying to drag everybody back to the top.
How strong is the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr.? Without much of a push, he's able to separate himself from the 48, or he has been able to, almost 2 to 3 car lengths. Now the 48 comes to the inside. He doesn't block him, and the 48's going to try to take the lead. They're going to leave the 88 and try to hang him out.
Jimmy Johnson did a great job right there. He saw the 11 coming with some momentum. As soon as he saw it, he turned left, used that push to get him by Junior, and then the 11 of Denny Hamlin went with him as well. Pushed him to the lead.
So now Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the outside line. We'll try to get that one to get back up to speed. It's Jimmy Johnson out front, Denny Hamlin, Matt Kenseth, Casey Kane on the bottom of the racetrack. Martin Truex Jr. mentioned in the countdown to green how comfortable they feel going to every race, feeling like they're competitive week in and week out, and now running in the top 5 here at Daytona.
I saw Jimmie Johnson with that strong move. That's got him out in front. Really, really smart. Shows you how looking in the mirror as the reporter is looking out of the windshield.
This is how Jimmie Johnson stole the lead away from Dale Earnhardt Jr.
So here he is right here. He's gaining a little bit on the 88, but he's looking in the mirror. He sees the 11 coming. 11's gaining spots, gaining ground. So the 48 turns left. Doesn't have a huge run, but when he turned left, it got him to the side of the 88. That slowed the 88 down. The 11 came with him. That's being smart, looking out of the mirror, and also using the side drafting.
Yeah, and the difference between the 88 and the 24 you see here with the 11 is the 88 had a little help. You see right here, right after the restart, the 24 drifts up. The 11 jumps to the inside of him. There's no one behind the 24. Zero. No third lane. And you see how quickly these cars pass him on the backstretch.
3 wide as they work their way around the high banks here at Daytona. Jimmie Johnson now out in front. His teammate Casey Kane behind him. Martin Truex Jr. Matt Kenseth, Kyle Larson has broken into the top 5.
Matt Kenseth, we typically see on those True to Plate races, he gets very aggressive. He likes to run in the front. He doesn't like it when it gets single file. He likes to be able to make a move and try to go double wide. So no surprise for me that he's moving and trying to make something happen.
After starting in the top 3, the 24 of Jeff Gordon has battled back into the 12th position. He dropped all the way back to 21st.
Matt has a huge push from the 11, his teammate Denny Hamlin right there. Jimmie Johnson pulled up in front of him, block it. Now Matt has nowhere to go. He didn't have enough momentum to try to turn left. And if he would have turned left, he would have hung the 11 of Denny Hamlin out.
Impressive run for Brian Scott in the 33. He's the 3rd car back on the outside. He was a dominant car in the Xfinity race last night until the last 5 laps. Made a mistake, tried to block, got into the wall. Jimmie Johnson leading. Coca-Cola gave fans a ride to remember this week, riding along with the Coca-Cola Racing family drivers, including Danica Patrick here in the high banks of Daytona. Jimmie Johnson still trying to hold off teammate Casey Kane. Martin Truex Jr. on that outside line. You see the aggressive move by Johnson to the bottom of the track to stay in front of Casey Kane.
You got the 88 there. 3 wide on the top, trying to find his way back to the front. Ever since he got shuffled out of the lead, he's had a hard time kind of breaking through. Him and Jeff Gordon have kind of just been, stuck in that middle of the pack area.
And so once you get back there, it's so hard to find your way up back to the front. They're side by side. The only thing you can do is try to make it 3 wide like he's trying right now. But if nobody goes with you, then you get hung out.
Or if someone blocks you.
Like Brian Scott right there.
Brian Scott moves up in front of you, and there's just nowhere you can go. That's why you see Jimmie Johnson blocking. He does not want to go back into that traffic.
One driver who has opted to run toward the back of the field is that 15, Marty.
And that is Brent Boyer, who actually started up front earlier today, Rick. He started in the 3rd position, and Boyer told me, if I can run up front, I'll stay up front. But once I get shuffled back, immediately I'm going to go to the back. And that's his MO. He loves to ride at the back of these restrictor plate races, but then he always seems to be able to make a charge to the top 5. Steve, I know you talked to him as well. Do you agree with that move, Mr. Crew Chief? Do you like your driver riding in the back like that?
Marty, I like Clint Boyer, and I always thought we'd make a good combination, but we wouldn't make a good combination at the Speedways because I hate that strategy. We showed us at the top of the show the average running position of the last 4 winners here is low single digits in the 6th, 7th position. Those guys up front are continually not only battling for track position, but learning. Every block they throw, every time it doesn't work, every time they get past, that's one more chip in the memory bank. And when it comes to the end of this race, all those lessons could add up to being in the right place at the right time.
And I tell you what else happens. When drivers see a car up front, they believe that car is fast and they want to go with that driver. When the car's in the back and you never see him and he pops up, you have no idea what that car can do. Is he fast? Is he slow? I think you want to run in the front, because if you do, you've exhibited to the people that have to go with you that you have the speed that's necessary to take them where they want to go.
And guys, here's the other thing. I was talking to another driver about this, and they said mentally, if you run up front, you're more in the game the entire game. If you're trying to do it at the very end, it's tough to kind of activate that. You've been riding in the back, being very passive. It takes a very aggressive driver to run up front, and that's a completely different way to approach the game.
As we talk about this, remember, we had a wreck early in this race. So some guys that decided to ride in the back, they weren't in that wreck. The guys that were trying to be aggressive, they were. Speaking of aggressive, we're 3 wide out of the trial.
Absolutely, and Denny Hamlin in the 11 in the middle of that group.
And we see another Hendrick car, the 5, get shuffled to the top, just like what happened to Jeff Gordon. No third lane. He's losing row after row after row. He's going to be back in the 8th, 10th, 12th row before he ever finds help.
Kyle Larson running that lower line now has moved up into the 3rd spot. Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex Jr., Casey Kane, Kyle Larson.
See, Kyle, this racetrack requires very little wheel input. These are really big, long corners, big radiuses, very little wheel input. Watch him in the trial here. He's probably going to have more wheel action here. It's actually probably the hardest part of this racetrack. There's not a lot of load there. You have to chase the car a little bit.
Trying to get some help is Kyle Larson on that bottom line. Martin Truex Jr. staying up in the high line, having some success. And Jimmy Johnson moves up to that high line to slow that progress. Try to stay just in front of whichever line is moving. And now Martin Truex Jr. looks like he's going to slide down to the bottom line as they come up on one of the slower cars. Dave.
Rick, the car for Martin Truex Jr. just a little bit free right now. That might be because he did not change tires on that first pit stop. Cole Pern rolling the dice early for a little bit of track position, but right now is very fast for the 78, and he's up front where he wants to be.
And you know, Rick, I know I'm going to sound silly because I'm going to argue with the pit strategy of the first and second place car, but both of those cars took 5 seconds worth of fuel. You could put right side tires on in 6 seconds. So I know they were trying to be very aggressive with their pit strategy, but I still feel better about the cars that had right side tires on. I think towards the end of this run, those right side tires are going to pay off.
And they came down onto pit road at lap 27. We've documented that the pit window for fuel will be around 45 to 48 laps. So you can see drivers make it all the way to lap 75. And we have completed 47 laps now.
So we still have a long ways to go. And you see these cars in the top lane, as they run, they start to dance around, move around a little bit. I ask myself, are they searching for some air? That's a big push.
Very aggressive
shove there from the 11, like he lost the nose a little bit off turn 2. I think we're going to see more and more of that as this race goes on. Kelly?
And you see Denny Hamlin making that push there, trying to take the lead. He started 35th. Remember, way back in the pack, when I talked to his crew chief, Dave Rogers, before the start of the race, sounds like he was at the same school of thought as you, Steve. He said, look, there is no safe place to run around here. We've been wrecked while we're up front. We've been wrecked running 42nd. So we'd rather be up front. We know at some point we're going to have to make a move from the back of the pack up there. We might as well get it done early.
You know,
they've done the right things. They're up front.
It's funny how race car drivers talk about racing with one another, how they understand how they move. Crew chiefs are the same way. You know, we work every day next to one another. We call races next to one another. You start to learn what this crew chief's going to do. I mean, if the caution comes out, my God, I kind of have an idea what Darian Grubb's going to do or Chad Knaus is going to do. And that is kind of like your signature of how you want to call a race.
You know, what's so difficult for these drivers in making the decision on which strategy they want to use in these races. I can tell you, I came down here one year, and I actually, all 4 plate races, I have an average finish of about 8 throughout the year. That's a good finish throughout the year. The next year I did the same exact thing. I'd have an average finish within the 30s. So sometimes, you know, it works great one year, do the same thing the next year, you end up in wrecks.
33 of Brian Scott in the middle of 3 wide and falling back. Jimmy Johnson continuing to lead at Daytona International Speedway. Carl Edwards, a wild ride coming out of turn number 4. He gets it going straight once again. He was running in the 13th position. It looks like a 1-car incident. The yellow flag has come out. But a crazy ride for Carl Edwards as he exited turn number 4. take a look at how this happened.
You can see him, he just got loose all by himself, and now he's got it locked down. He's on all that asphalt. You know, we talked about getting grass out of racetracks. That's why right there he was able to keep control. He did make a little bit of contact. You can see the rear quarter panel bent, but not nearly as bad as it would have been with the grass down there.
No, you're absolutely right. You know, you see him right here, kind of 3 wide, almost 3 wide outside the 20, and you see he starts correcting it. He just loses rear grip. It gets really, really loose. He's locked it down. He's trying to spot the wall, trying to spot where he's going, and he does a great job. You see this tire start to roll again. He gets off the brakes, starts to drive the car. This onboard is going to have a great shot of it. You're going to see here and listen.
3 wide right here. Now just easy.
He does a great job. You hear him right before he spins, he starts to breathe it. He knows he's in trouble. And then as he starts to lose it, he gets out of it, he gets it locked up.
But you could see when he got behind the 20 and the 78, he had 2 cars in front of him. That took all the air off his car, and when it did, around that thing went. That's a sign for me that these cars are not handling great.
And you see here, it's a great opportunity to see some of the safety initiatives in this car. When that 19 gets sideways, you see the distance between the car and the asphalt. It starts to lift. As that car lifts, the roof flap opens, the hood flap opens, the car settles back down. That's huge. You know, 15, 20 years ago, that car might fly. We might have a car rolling.
It enables air to get into the cockpit area so that an air can get under the car so that it doesn't tip over?
So the idea is very simple. The car makes downforce going forward, but when the car gets sideways, it makes lift, which is the same thing that makes an airplane fly. Bad for staying on the ground. When the roof flaps open, it slows the air down around the top of the car, which basically reverses the effects of the lift, pushes the car back to the racetrack. The hood flaps open to let the air that's packing in that wheel opening out, so it can't pick up on the front of the race car. All of those things sound complicated, but it's really simple. 3,400-pound stock car going sideways at 200 miles an hour, wants to get airborne. Those things keep the car on the ground.
So Jimmie Johnson out in front. This is actually a fairly good opportunity for Kyle Busch, because with this caution, he looks like he's going to receive the free pass and get back on the lead lap.
Yeah, and everybody will be coming to pit road right here. We're going to have at least right side tires on most. It'll be interesting to see who does 4.
Marty Snyder.
Rick, outstanding run for Jimmie Johnson, who Chad Canals wants him to pit close to the wall here. You see that 3rd pit stall on pit road, top right hand of your screen. They asked him how the car was. He said, all good. How about the run for Landon Castle in the 5th position when he hits pit road? You see Johnson taking 2 tires. Castle to the car pushes on most laps. A little adjustment for him. Kelly?
Denny Hamlin has never won a points-paying race here at Daytona. He said he's happy with the car, just not ready to lead this one yet. He's going to take 4 Goodyears of the Sunoco fuel, Dave.
Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s left side Goodyears remain the same. They changed rights again. 1 can of Sunoco fuel, and he will lose a couple of positions on pit road. Rick?
Jimmie Johnson holds on to the top spots. The 88 with a great run off of pit road may have held onto his spot. NASCAR on NBC is brought to you by Nationwide. Nationwide is on your side. And by Toyota. Let's go places. And by the new movie No Escape, in theaters everywhere, August 26th. Tonight's aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. Live from Daytona International Speedway, a delay of about 3 hours. Rain has put us into the 6th day of July as we've passed 1240 here on the East Coast. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the 48s of Jimmie Johnson back in front. The race off pit road won by Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's chose the inside line. Behind him, Ty Dillon. Green flag back in the air. Another great restart for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Almost too good. We've seen this twice today. He gets these great restarts, drives off from the bumper in front of him, and that actually gives the momentum to the outside lane as they draft up on him.
much speed, though. He's been able to block the incoming traffic every single time.
13 of Casey Mears, while he was on pit road, he got a penalty. He drove through too many pit boxes. He came in 14th. Now he'll have to restart at the back of this field.
Kyle Busch, we've talked about him having his incident getting into the wall. That last caution right there, he was the free pass. He's now back on the lead lap.
Guy who needs a good finish at the remainder of the 10 races before the chase. Now it's Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s turn as the caution has come out. In turn 4, one of the cars stalled just outside of turn 4. That's the 38, David Gilliland, involved in the first accident.
Cut it right. It was fine going through 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 cut a tire. Cut it right rear, it felt like.
And the left rear's down also.
That's the hard part, Rick. We know we've showed time and time again how much these cars travel through the corner. When you get damage early, you stop on pit road. The tire changers do the best job they can of clearancing those tires, but it's hard to visualize how much that tire is going to travel up into the wheel well. And you think you have clearance, and then the tire moves 4 inches up, farther up into the wheel well, and it rubs something you think isn't even close to cutting the tire.
As he mentioned, he thought he cut the right rear tire. There's 38 going around through turn 4. And behind him, who's that checking up?
Kyle Busch going by. Like maybe A.J. Allmendinger. There's Jeb Burton.
Gilliland sliding.
It's Brendan Gaughan, rather.
Brendan Gaughan in the 62 was sideways in turn 4 as well.
Well, that's the perfect example. That seems simple because Brendan Gaughan was by himself. So earlier when the 38 spun and there was 40 cars behind him, when that car checked up like that, someone ran him over. You see Kyle Busch here. We just mentioned he got back on the lead lap. All these cautions are perfect opportunities to continue to work on your car. Every chance you get, you can make the car better. You have to just keep working on the aerodynamics, keep working on the mechanical area. Any way you can make this car faster.
And a great opportunity for Kyle Busch because he had lost the lead lap. They've got, or the lead pack, so he has got to continue to work on that so that he can stay in that pack, because that is the great equalizer. We'll get the unlimited and ultimate pass to every moment of every NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race with Race Buddy. Right along with different drivers each week through multiple high-def video feeds, and follow the race action with a live leaderboard. Tune in at NASCAR.com/Race Buddy. Under our 4th caution of the night, there have been 9 lead changes, 6 different drivers up front. Will anyone take this opportunity to come back onto pit road?
No one towards the front of the field. I think you've seen how much risk you take, falling to the back of the field. You've worked hard. I think you want to stay up front.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading once again. He's got the speed to stay in front. Since the dawn of time, the Minions have lived to serve the most despicable of masters. Now join Kevin Stewart and Bob as they head out on a thrilling new journey to find their next evil leader. Don't miss Minions, only in theaters Friday. You know, Denny Hamlin has been in an interesting position tonight on a lot of these, well, when cars get shuffled out into the 3 wide position. Take a look.
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing some of the shuffling from what I've seen. You see right here, Jeff Gordon's in front of Denny Hamlin, and Denny they both go up the racetrack. Denny cuts a hard left, takes a 24 3 wide, 24 with no help, goes to the back.
You see right here behind Matt Kenseth, his teammate, he gets on the left side of him, did the same thing. What he's not trying to make it 3 wide. He's trying to put the guy that he's passing 3 wide because he knows everybody's going to go with him up the middle.
Yeah, and we see again right here to the 5. They're all in line. The 5 feels the 42 inside him, thinks he has room. He moves up, leaves that middle lane. Denny Hamlin fills it. This is something that if I'm a competitor, as a crew chief, if I'm seeing this, I'm telling my spotter, telling my driver, if you have Denny Hamlin behind you on the outside, he's restarting 12th, make sure you block the middle. Force him to go around you on the outside.
And the way you do that, your spotter has to have been watching that. He has to have been saying, hey, the 11 car is doing this, and you've got to put your door on the side of the car that's next to you. You got to give him nowhere to go.
Another bit of interesting strategy. The 24 team was just talking about who's starting where on these restarts. Listen in.
So Junior was the leader there, and he chose the inside, was that right? No, Jimmy was the control car. Hello? What? Yeah, 88 had like 2 car leaks on him. Yeah, I thought you meant who was the control car. Yeah, I don't think Jimmy took off like he should have.
So, great information, but I have to disagree with Eddie DeHunt. The 88 was the control car. Right. Jeff was right. And what Jeff Gordon is asking there is much like we talked about racing in the front and understanding how the runs come and how you need to block. Every restart is important because, let's face it, how many of these races come to green, white checkers? Jeff Gordon's already thinking of the end of this race. He is trying to figure out, do I want to be in the bottom or the top? And that misinformation from his spotter can hurt you later in the race.
Even though you're not restarting in the front, you're learning, the front rows, you're learning from the guys that are restarting. And now here's all the spotters. They're in a new position. They're lower than they normally are. Because of all the construction here with Daytona Rising, they're a little bit lower. They don't have quite the view that they're accustomed to having. They still have a great view, a good view. They just don't have a great view.
And look at the space they have. Man, don't ask your spotter to go find another one, because that's a long place to run around.
Last night we saw most of these spotters down to the lower portion of this grandstand area. Now we're seeing quite a few of them up higher so that they can see that separation.
They just want to get as high as they can. The higher they are, the better their visibility.
And once again, the 88 car has decided to restart on the inside line. Jimmy Johnson will restart outside. Kane and Dillon are in row number 2. Jeff Gordon, Kyle Larson, row 3. Row 4, Jamie McMurray. Martin Truex Jr. Green flag back in the air. Maybe it's just me that's seeing it, but do you see the yellow lights flashing on the outside of the wall? Is that?
They were for sure when they went through turns 1 and 2. It seems like they've been shut off now. Maybe just either a malfunction or a late opportunity to shut the lights off.
So we stay green. All in line behind the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. The Hendrick Motorsports trio of Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, and Casey Kane out front.
Everybody's gotten single file really, really quickly. I'm wondering if those drivers saw the lights, and some of them lifted, some of them were afraid that the caution was out.
Marty.
And one of the drivers who saw the caution lights was Clint Boyer. He lifted. He said they can't put the caution out and then take it back. And they said it was an accident. The lights were not supposed to be on. Obviously, Boyer not very happy.
Spread the field out quickly now.
And that's difficult because that's something years ago, the caution lights you didn't lift. You raced back to the line years and years ago. But in today's day and age, when the caution lights come out, you're asked to roll out of the throttle, maintain a safe speed, get the safety workers out. So it's great to see Clint Boyer lifted. Unfortunately, this time the caution wasn't coming out. But if you have a car wrecked, you need to get there as quick as possible.
Now they're trying to form 2 lines. Kenseth in the 20 has gone to the bottom of the racetrack. He has the 11 of Denny Hamlin behind him. We'll see if those 2 teammates work together. This was that restart. As we were mentioning the lights going into turn number 1, you can see them just after they get the green flag.
You're on board with the 4. You go past the green light on the right side. But as you look ahead going into turn 1, you see the orange light flashing. You hear the 4. The 4 of Kevin Harvick gets out of the gas. He sees it. Here's a second orange light flashing and a third orange light flashing. And his spotter now is trying to convince him it's all clear, keep going. He doesn't understand why he's losing ground. He hasn't heard anything from the tower, but the orange lights or yellow lights were definitely on, and it has strung the field completely out.
I mean, all the drivers did what they were supposed to do. You have to lift. You see the lights. Your spotter may be saying, there's no caution, because he's not hearing it. He's not hearing NASCAR over the scanner saying caution, but the driver's seeing it. So all the drivers did the the right thing. Then they see green, then they got to take back off. So that's very confusing, but you can see the effects. We now have one long line. We're no longer double foul.
But now you got to, that's done. That's over. If you're a driver, it doesn't matter if you gain spots, lost spots. There's 93 laps to go in this race. It's a single file line. You have to start coming up with a strategy of how you're going to get back towards the front if you lost your spots.
And so with this opportunity, as the field has spread out, let's go through the field or around the field, beside the field, however they line up here at Daytona. That brought to you by Nationwide Insurance.
Rick Dale Earnhardt Jr. continues to lead this field in that red, white, and blue number 88 car. He took right side tires the first time, he took right side tires the second time, and a car that was a little bit tight. He said, I think I'm driving through the right front. Seems to have been corrected now, Marty.
Well, his teammate Jimmie Johnson right behind him. And Dave, the weekend did not start very well for the 48 team. They actually had a ride height issue on the right rear of the car. First two runs, the team couldn't figure out why it was so slow. Then they found the problem and immediately picked up half a second. That made him feel a lot better. Clearly the car very good, Dave.
In the practice crash on Friday, a lot of drivers avoided the big one. Casey Kane did as well. He was in the garage. His car was not good after an early 4-lap run. He went back into the garage, and they were working on the car when the crash happened. His car is in this race and looking really good, Mike.
Jeff Gordon's looking pretty good as well, which is no unfamiliar sight when it comes to restrictor plate races this year. After all, coming into this race, he had led more restrictor plate tracks than any other driver in the field, 134 circuits. Still looking to lead his first lap tonight, however, but he's in a familiar place. He practiced all day earlier this week with the 5 car, which is right in front of him right now. Kelly Savage.
Daytona has not been kind to Kyle Larson in that 42 car. In 3 starts here, he's never finished better than 34th, and he has a pair of DNFs here. He badly needs a win. Remember, he missed a race earlier this year when he fainted at Martinsville due to dehydration, but right now he is happy with his car. Dave?
The backup car that Martin Truex Jr. is driving is a good one. They've run it before, and they're happy with the way it's handling right now. Remember, he didn't take tires on the first stop, just fuel, and they just took rights the last time playing the track position game tonight, Kelly.
Austin Dillon is another sophomore driver who badly needs a win here. Well, crew chief Slugger Labby, who's just in his 2nd race of the season here with Austin, knows how to get it done. He has 2 wins on this track with Michael Waltrip, Mike.
Eric Almirola was the Cinderella story 1 year ago in this race, picking up the victory and earning a chase berth. Trying to do the same thing here again tonight. He said earlier this week, though, he's in a little bit different position than he was a year ago. He has a chance of making the chase on points, so might be just a little bit more conservative. Right now, very content to stay in line, Kelly.
Kurt Busch in that 41 car has been working his way back up through the field. He had contact early in this race with the 11 car, so under that competition caution, they took extra time to patch up a crack in the front fender. Then he rode around in the back to make sure that patch would stick. He's good to go and working his way forward.
Kevin Harvick has been at the back of the pack, and he's been further back than that. But now he's moving up toward the front, and Steve Letarte called it. Rodney Childers has given him 4 tires on both of his pit stops, keeping fresh rubber on that 4 car.
Kevin Harvick is doing a great job of leading that bottom line. He had enough people behind him to get it going. And then you saw Austin Dillon in the 3 car, Martin Truex in the 78. They saw that momentum coming. They jumped in front of the 4 car to try to hopefully go get the lead.
It's amazing to watch the jet skis. Kevin Harvick knew what Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the guys in front of this pack were trying to do with that single file line. He starts way back in the pack, methodically working the bottom. You see cars start to join. He knows the plan, and he's breaking up the plan, making it back to 2 wide racing.
Yeah, and 3 wide now we're seeing. Jimmie Johnson looks to go to the bottom of the racetrack, see if he can steal the lead away once again from that 88, but so strong has been Dale Earnhardt Jr.
It's just a remarkable amount of speed the 88 has shown out front tonight.
Saw Kevin Harvick leading that inside line, being very aggressive, trying to make something happen, and he's drug all these guys with him. Now he's up to 4th position. A few laps ago with Harvick, we had an incident. He was trying to make the inside work. You can see him right here, pulled behind Brian Scott, tries to get underneath him, right on the line. Brian Scott comes down on him, Harvick has to lift. Lucky that wasn't a bigger wreck than it was. I don't know if Brian Scott got loose getting in the corner. We saw last night Brian Scott tried to block at the end of the Xfinity race. It was a big wreck. We cannot do that. If you do it, you're going to eventually get wrecked.
Good run for the 41 of Kurt Busch. He's able to make a little bit of movement on that inside line.
Let me be clear. You can block, and you need to block. If you don't block, you will not win this race. But when a guy's underneath you and you try to block, that's not blocking. That's running into him. If you bang hard enough, you're going to go around, and it will cause a big wreck.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. out in front. 4 Chevrolets in front of the field at Daytona. NASCAR on NBC is brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero. You don't know Zero until you've tried it. And by Sprint. Check out the new All-In plan at sprint.com/all-in. Let's take a look at the Xfinity speed charts. 201 miles an hour for Trevor Bayne, Yaley, Mears, Landon Castle, all over the 201-mile average around this 2.5-mile super speedway.
Daytona, talk about the speed, the drama, all those things. That's what Daytona is about, over 200 miles an hour.
And we have a new leader at Daytona. Jimmy Johnson was able to get by the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. And now Matt Kenseth is making the outside line work. He's going to try to get by the 48 as well. Here comes Kenseth. Jimmy Johnson didn't block, and will Kenseth lead a lap at Daytona?
Didn't quite clear him. Was almost fine, but didn't quite get it done.
At the line, it looks as though they are going to score him as another leader. 8 different drivers have been out front, 12 different lead changes.
So the 20 led that lap. But what he really wanted to do is he wanted to clear that 48 so he could fall to the bottom and control the pace. So even though he led that lap, he didn't quite get accomplished what he's looking for. I do believe he has a good chance to do it. You know why? Look who's behind him. The 88 Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's, to me, shown he has certainly one of the fastest cars tonight. When you have a car behind you, you want that car to be a fast car. The faster that car is, and he's pushing you, the better opportunity that you're going to go fast.
Yeah, and you talk about Dale Earnhardt Jr. and fast cars. These guys look like they're just driving these race cars. But when you go on board with the 88, I want you to watch his face, watch his eyes. Look how often he looks up to the mirror. He gets a little shot right there. He's down in the corner. He's looking where he needs to go. As he comes up off the corner here, he's going to look up. There he is, checking his mirror. As he checking his mirror again, looking out front, checking his mirror again. That's at over 200 miles an hour. Going down the interstate, I challenge somebody to look in the mirror that much and see if they can even keep it between the white lines, because I doubt I could, and these guys are doing it side by checking the mirror again. Consistently 8, 10, 12 times a lap, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to be looking in the mirror, especially with the 11 behind him, because we've already seen earlier today that 11 can't wait to take the 3 wide.
200 miles an hour in the corner. You know, that's where he's really looking at. And listen, this is what makes a good race car driver. This is what makes a good restrictor plate driver. The willingness and the ability to assess what's going on all around you. It's not what's outside the front windshield. That's just a portion of it. It's what's going on behind you, beside you. Am I 3 wide? Am I 2 wide? All those things go into making the decision of the moves that you want to make.
Smart move here by the 2 that were in front of this pack. They dropped below the double yellow line because 2 wide going into turn number 3 and becoming 3 wide would have got very hairy.
Yeah, and not only is Dale Earnhardt Jr. looking in the rearview mirror, but another place in the car, right here on the A-post, you see a Kevin Harvick's car. That mirror on the left side, that gives you the view just like you're driving down the highway, your left side mirror. That lets him see that blind spot by your left rear corner. So you look up into the rearview mirror to see behind you, look at your right rear corner. When you look forward, you look down to your left, look down the left side. You're basically trying to get yourself a 360-degree view while driving at 200 miles an hour and not changing lanes or hitting anyone else. I mean, it's simple.
Or changing lanes to try to stay in front of somebody who's trying to make a run behind you.
Absolutely.
Matt Kenseth staying right on the door of the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. It's 2 by 2 as they work their way around Daytona International Speedway at over 200 miles an hour. Up the racetrack goes the 20 of Matt Kenseth. We've passed the halfway point. 82 laps complete of 160 laps scheduled for tonight's race. Kenseth trying to get back out in front of Jimmy Johnson. You're watching the Coke Zero 400 powered by Coca-Cola. Look now.
It got big.
Another big one in turns 1 and 2 at Daytona. You look at Brian Scott in the 33. Fire underneath that car. He'll have to come to a stop. Fire extinguishers putting that out inside of the car. Involved in this, the 19 of Carl Edwards. It might have been the 33 of Brian Scott that got up underneath him.
I think they were approaching a lap car and getting into turn 1. Let's see, and that caused some issues.
A lot of smoke inside that car for Brian Scott. Safety crew to him quickly. And the window net down, always a good indicator. You see the head being shaken by Carl Edwards. He cannot believe the bad luck that he has already had tonight.
Guys, we tried real hard there. That was, I don't know what else to do. We made the deal. We're just going to race. If we could have sat in the back, that is what we raced.
There, you heard him. He thought he was in the back of the pack and out of the possibility of danger. Take a look at what happens. The 42 of Kyle Larson completely sideways.
He gets down to the apron. You see the sparks where the track bar mount hits the ground. He saves it, but he comes up the track, has no choice but to connect with the 19, who then starts to spin. Brad Keselowski gets a face full of sparks. The 17 does go around, and now the track is blocked. Now these guys are trying to find a hole through, and the 2 gets woed up, and the 3 kind of gets woed up, but then you see Carl Edwards goes back up the track, and here comes Brian Scott with a full head of steam, makes big contact with the back of the 19.
Yeah, Brian Scott looked like he was going to be able to get through this clean. He was accelerating to try to get by the cars, but then up came Carl Edwards from the bottom of the track.
There's nothing you can do in that situation. You know, he just was coming at such a high rate of speed. Really nothing Brian Scott could have done.
Let's ride along with Carl. This will be a wild ride, too.
You see Carl, he's watching. We're going around a lap car right here. See, Larson just gets loose. Car goes around, tries to shoot the middle, just didn't clear him.
So Jeff, my question is, going around that lap car, did that get him loose in that situation?
Well, you know,
possibly. Let's go to Marty.
Chad Canals asked Jimmy Johnson, is there anything you want with the car? He said very calmly, not really. Car's pretty good. Johnson able to keep it up front for much of that run. Going to be 2 tires here for Jimmy Johnson. For Matt Kenseth, they talked about the car being a little too cold, running a little too chilly in the car, he said. He said the left front was shaking on that run, so we need to change 4 on the stop, Kelly.
Denny Hamlin saying his car's is a little bit free on entry and exit. They gave him a round of wedge to help him out there, and 2 Goodyear tires, Dave.
Junior will take 4 tires, wedge adjustments to get the car off of the splitter as he leaves.
Race off pit road, showing Denny Hamlin, the first car off of pit road. Casey Kane, Kevin Harvick, Jeff Gordon, all with good stops, making up positions on pit road. Next weekend, we'll go under the lights again with NASCAR from Kentucky on NBCSN. Saturday, Sprint Cup Series racing presented by KFC. That coverage starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then on Friday, Xfinity Series racing presented by K&N. Coverage starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Kevin Harvick took checkers last year from Kentucky.
So we just saw this incident. You can see Kyle Larson right there. He's gone around Jeb Burton, and he was kind of in the middle, which meant the car had kind of clean air on the nose. A lot of times that makes a lot of front downforce and gets the car loose. He also had Carl right behind him, which is taking a little bit of downforce off the back of the car. Again, this is the 3rd car we've seen go around all by themselves with no contact. That keeps telling me there's some sort of handling issues.
And a wild ride for Carl Edwards once again. Welcome back to the Coke Zero 400 powered by Coca-Cola. Marty Snyder, what's tonight's Subway Fresh Take?
Well, unfortunately for the Subway driver, it wasn't a very good Friday, it wasn't a very good Sunday, and now it's not a very good Monday, Carl. What happened in this latest incident?
I want to point out a couple things. Number one, I don't think I've spun completely out yet. All right, so
You've tried.
That's big, and also Subway serves breakfast. So for all the folks when the race is over, they can go check it out. But really frustrating. We knew that we were just going to go race and go for it. And that first one, I don't ever have flat tires. I mean, Goodyear does a good job, and I'm pretty sure I had a left rear go down, and we got everything back together, got back on the lead lap, and then that whole wreck happened. I thought, man, I got this a couple times, and then Brian Scott was real curious about the underside of the car, and I had no clue what happened. It's like I'm going to flip over frontwards, but I guess nobody got hurt, and we'll just go race at Kentucky next week.
Wesley Sherrill, your car chief, says he can fix it, and you can go out and wreck again if you would like to.
Yeah, I mean, it's still in generally the right shape. I mean, it still looks like a Toyota Camry, but I think it's best just to go back and get a sandwich, like I said. I think our night is over.
All right, very good point by you, and we're glad you're okay. Most of all, Carl Edwards is officially done for the evening, guys.
Well, and I think it's great that he's got a smile on his face, and I believe the reason for it is he has a win already this season, because he's only got 2 top 10s in the 2015 season. So that win will ensure him a spot in the chase. A wild ride that he has had. And a wild ride for Kyle Larson just moments ago.
You can see we've got a great in-car shot. Here he is. He's driving into turn 1. He's going around Jeb. See the car? He loses it. Trying to get back right. He's just driving. Hear him in the throttle, out of the throttle, back in the throttle. Never quit driving the race car. Even when he thought he was wrecked, he never quit driving it. That's a sign of somebody that does not want to quit.
Yeah, and listen, we talk about crashes at the Speedway. Not only do you not want to be in them, you watch Brad Keselowski right here. He does an amazing job. The 42 loose on the apron. The 19's collected. 17's collected. Brad's on the brakes. On the brakes. The 19 comes back up in front of him. He's still on the brakes. Somehow, he avoids all that. Comes out without a dent. Moves like that often go overlooked. And to come to the end of the race, the guys that were in the crash said they had a bad night. Sometimes you have to make a good night out of it.
How about Martin Truex Jr.? He seems to be frustrated with the ability to maybe not catch up to the Hendrick cars. Take a listen to what he said on the radio.
I don't know what it is about the Hendrick cars, but you can absolutely not run into the back of them. No matter how fast you're closing on them, you cannot hit them. They just go push. They just pushes them away from you. It's like they got freaking big air bubble strapped to the back of their car.
The whole goal of having a great Speedway car is that it rolls easy. It takes runs easy. What he's talking about right there is when he closes in on a Hendrick car, it's kind of like pushing a carriage in the sand versus pushing a carriage on the asphalt. A carriage on the asphalt will roll nice and easy. That's the Speedway car you want. That one that's stuck in the sand, you can get all the way to the rear bumper and give him a shove. Those Hendrick cars have great speed. That's why he's not able to get to the rear bumper.
And few have been able to get to the rear bumper of the Hendrick cars. Now it's Casey Kane on the inside and Denny Hamlin on the outside. Green flag back in the air. .92 laps complete, 68 laps to go. You see the 4 of Kevin Harvick all over the back bumper of the 5 of Casey Kane. Denny Hamlin trying to make that outside line work. He's got the 24 of Jeff Gordon behind him. Three, 4, and 5 wide as they go down the backstretch.
Saw a car below the yellow line. You can go below the yellow line. You just cannot advance your position. It's like to me, Greg Biffle just had to go there to avoid an accident. Really didn't pass anybody.
For some reason, slow for Casey Mears in the 13. He has dropped way back as Casey Kane out in front of the field. A little help from the 24 and the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Let's see if he can make the move and get by the 5 of Casey Kane. Not able to keep that run going, and he stays in the 3rd spot. 2x2 once again as the field works their way around the high banks of Daytona International Speedway on this 4th of July weekend.
Menards worked his way up to 7th, 48. Went up the racetrack a little bit. Paul thought just for a second about trying to get underneath him, but the 48 came down and blocked it.
Denny Hamlin, will he lead the lap? At the stripe, he is out front by 41 one-thousandths of a second over Casey Kane. So Denny Hamlin, your leader, now at Daytona. Dave Burns, it sounds as though there was an electrical issue with that 13 of Casey Mears. Is that the fact?
Absolutely true, Rick. And if they get another caution, or when they get a caution, they're going to make an attempt to switch out the ECU. That's the plan of the 13.
So they'll try to make their way around the track until a caution comes out. If it gets too bad, he'll have to come to pit road. They just don't want to lose a lap, potentially go a lap down, maybe even more than a lap down to fix that problem.
Yeah, we've had a little change in the guard here. Denny Hamlin, he's run towards the front most of the night, but this is only the third lap he's led. He's kind of running that 2nd to 5th position. But on the last pit stop, we've had some differing strategies. The 88 decided to take 4 tires. You see him here in about the 5th row. Other guys decided to take 2. With 65 to go, these guys are positioning themselves to have the best chance to take the minimal amount of tires when it gets towards the end of the race. Track position is great, but you want track position at the end of the race.
And again, they're going to have to come to pit road at least one more time. The pit window between 45 and 48 laps for fuel. We have 65 still to go.
Saw a 48 get underneath the 78 of Martin Truex and shuffled him out. Now he was on the outside, falling to the back.
That seems to be the dangerous spot tonight, Jeff, is when you get that outside lane. The bottom lane, it kind of comes and goes, but you have the yellow line protecting you to the bottom. You're kind of in your own little zone. But that outside lane, you're really protecting the middle and the top lane. You see right here, the 11 chases up the hill to block the 5, leaving the door open on the bottom for the 4 of Kevin Harvick.
And there we see Menard in the 27 car. You know, he's right there on the bubble of making the chase or not. He's good in points, but he's not good enough. A win here would mean a great deal. Paul's a really good plate racer. Never won a plate race, but he's really good. He's smooth. This could be an opportunity for him. Kelly?
And Paul Menard is driving the same car that he raced at Talladega, where he finished 3rd. Remember, he is working with rookie crew chief. Already has 3 top 5s on the season. But I talked to his former crew chief, Slugger Laving, who said just what you said. He's a very good Speedway racer. He said he's smart, methodical, and doesn't put himself in any bad positions.
Paul Menard currently 14th on the chase grid. As you mentioned, no win up to this point. And you have to remember, too, the possibility that Kyle Busch could break into the top 30 with that win. That would put him in front of these drivers that are trying to get in via the point system.
Yeah, I don't believe 14th in points is going to do it. I think you're going to have to be higher than that. So if you're down there 14th, 15th, 16th, I think you feel like you're going to have to win a race.
Denny Hamlin down at the bottom of the racetrack, keeping that lower line going. It's 3 wide. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson trying to work that outside line. He's got the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. behind him.
You see the 48, he jumped up on the outside to make it 3 wide on the outside. Let's see if that works. We haven't seen it work all night. He does have some good cars behind him that might push him forward, but if it does, it'll be the first time it's worked all night. Gutsy move. Got Jeff Gordon in front of him, keeping his momentum, trying to get on the outside of Jeff. This will be where you can tell or not. If he can keep the momentum going right now, he can make it work. We've seen all night long that it won't continue, though.
But a pretty big gap between he and Martin Truex Jr. Actually, was filled by Jamie McMurray. The 5 of Casey Kane jumped in front of the 48.
And the 48 almost cleared the 24. He was inches from clearing the 24. Had he cleared him, he could have hung to the left and been in that 2nd lane.
Still stuck out in the 3rd lane. Looking back on Brad Keselowski riding along with Jeff Gordon.
Once you get out there on the outside lane like the 48, the only thing you can hope for is that people are going to come. People are going to come help you. That's the only thing you can bank. Now, again, he doesn't quite clear the 24. If he cleared the 24, he could have drove in front of him and then been leading that outside line.
Amazing shots here as we look back from the back bumper of the 24 of Jeff Gordon. Remember, they're traveling at 200 miles an hour, 3 wide on a racetrack where one wrong move, we've seen it before, one bobble, and you can have multiple cars going the wrong direction.
Absolutely, and the panic is rising with these guys 3 wide because the leaders up front are single file. They're efficient. They're on the bottom. You see them right here, about 6 or 7 cars is single file in the front. That makes the 24 situation worth. So it's starting to get single file up front. These guys are trying to get there.
Eric Almirola tucked in behind the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. Jeff Gordon in the middle, 3 wide at Daytona in his final race at Daytona International Speedway. Denny Hamlin, your race leader. Let's take a look at the number of lead changes tonight presented by Sprint. 18 already. We have a new leader out front of the field. You can follow Miss Sprint Cup as the big one's happening once again. Coming out of turn number 4. Into the wall. Kyle Larson. Multiple cars sideways. Martin Truex Jr., a lot of damage to the front end of his car. Eric Almirola also involved. There's Kyle Larson. Damage to the front end. Once again, coming out of turn number 4, a tricky spot on this track. Casey Kane, who was running up front all day, a lot of damage to the right front. Eric Almirola already in the garage. The Smithfield Ford had been running well, and now in the garage. Kyle Larson will have to make his way into the garage as well. This is why.
We've seen this time and time again. The 20 tries to come down on the 5. I don't know if he actually makes contact with the 5 or just the air gets him loose. Man, and then it's just a mess, right? When you have trouble in front of that many cars, there's just nowhere to go. You see the 9 spinning, trying to avoid it. Once the smoke is that thick, there's just nowhere to go.
All these cars behind them right now, they're just trying to find somewhere to go, but there just never is. You just keep piling in. You're on the brakes. The guys behind you are running into you. You know, it's just a big. This is plate racing. This is what we talk about. This is what the drivers fear.
Right along with Tony Stewart.
Back in here, back it down. Come down low, come down low, come down low, all the way down, all the way down. Come on down, come on down, come on down. Stay right there, stay there, stay there, stay there, stay there. Watch out now.
The vision of these drivers amazed me. It almost sounded like he was out of the gas before we even saw sparks. Like he knew this was not going to work.
You can see Matt Kenseth, he never got touched by Casey Kane. He tried to fill that spot. The air got taken off the back of the car, got loose, around he went, caused a big wreck.
There's that air cushion that Martin Truex Jr. was mentioning earlier. They didn't actually make contact, but around went the 20.
Yeah, we've seen this. You know, this is the 4th incident we've seen where cars start to get spun around just by being around other cars or being in situations where they had a lot of air and then they lost it. So this is something new. We haven't been seeing this at Daytona.
You know, we talked about track position at the top of the night. The 88 on the last pit stop decided to take 4 tires. You see him right here in the screen. He's back in about 4th or 5th position. And right here, he side drafts the 27, moves up, gets a great push by the 41. And what I really want you to see is the 41 never gets to the 88's bumper. The 88 has so much speed that a car length back, he shoves the 88. The 11 comes up the block. 88 with a crossover move, 88 to the lead. I know he's the leader, and that seems important, but think about this. Before he made that move, he was right next to Casey Kane in the pack. Casey Kane is now damaged on pit road.
More damage for the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. They've gone into their garage stall to try to do whatever they can. A lot of heads being shaken right now.
That's the rear bumper. That's the rear bumper out of, I think, the 5 car.
We saw Martin Truex back there. They had an incredible run of top 10 finishes. They got in a wreck last week, and then they get a wreck and get in another wreck this week. So that run, they were having great finishes, a lot of luck on their side. That's all come to a stop.
With 10 races to the chase, we mentioned this definitely a wild card race for quite a few drivers, not only those trying to get a win, but those trying to not lose points. One of those cars being Eric Almirola. He was 16th coming into this race, and now with the damage to the 43, he could be falling back. Kyle Larson on the hook. He will go back into the garage. The big one once again at Daytona. Closing in on 1:40 Eastern time as we fly by Daytona Beach. Welcome back to the Coke 0400, powered by Coca-Cola. There's a wild ride. Join NASCAR as we salute our veterans and active military members using the hashtag NASCAR salutes, or Visit NASCAR.com/salute. Mike Massaro.
Martin Truex, one of the cars involved in that incident. Rick, what happened?
I'm not sure. I've seen a replay there. It looked like the 5 and the 20 got together somehow. So just another situation where we were kind of running outside there, minding our own business, and just like practice, just got caught up in somebody else's wreck. So it's unfortunate, but that's the way this place is. And I don't know that I finished a race here in July in quite a while, but we had a great car. We didn't have quite the speed of a few of those guys, but we had a great handling race car, and on the longer runs we could really make some moves.
They're going to work on it, cutting away a lot of body parts. A short day for Martin Truex, Kelly.
And the rain did not bring good luck for Eric Almirola this time around. You won't make it back-to-back wins here. What was the perspective from the 43?
Honestly, I didn't see what happened. I saw 2 cars spark on the inside, and I heard them start to spin. And I thought that if I just stayed in the gas that I'd get clear of it. And at the last second, I saw a car out of my corner of my eye shoot back up the racetrack and catch me in the left rear. So Daytona's the game of inches. Another 24 inches would have been clear of that. So disappointed, really hate it for the Smithfield team. These guys have been working their guts out, and we've been fighting hard to stay in that chase spot. And we'll bounce back from this. We got a really good race team, great sponsors, and our Smithfield Ford Fusion's banged up right now, but hopefully we'll get it put back together and we'll go make some laps and get some points back.
A costly crash here for the 43 who had just a 1-point lead for that last spot, Rick.
Yeah, Kelly, difficult for that 43 team. Anytime a driver is not able to go with their car back to either pit road or into the garage, they have to be taken to the infield care center to be checked out. And in that earlier accident, Brian Scott was taken to the infield care center. He was checked and released. And just recently now, Kyle Larson has also been checked and released from the infield care center. So another big accident. This time it was Matt Kenseth getting sideways as they continue to clean up the racetrack, and pit road is still closed because there is some debris on pit road as well, and they're clearing up pit road. So while they are making those adjustments to the track and cleaning up, we'll take a quick break and be right back. Pit road has just been opened. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. Race leader Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to lead the field onto pit road. Marty.
Rick, Jimmy Johnson will pit from the second position of a clean in and clean out. Last time he was blocked in by Alex Bowman. You see him in the top left-hand side of your screen. That will not be an issue this time. He wants to tear off, and you see the fuel only for Jimmy Johnson. Kelly?
Paul Menard pits from the third position, said he's a bit tight up high. They're going to give him 2 Goodyear tires, and they're telling him, make sure you get it full of gas. This will put us on the edge of our pit window. And Kurt Busch saying that his car's just a little bit tight on exit. You see him complete his stop there.
No fresh Goodyear tires for Dale Earnhardt Jr. The plan was to take fuel as long as he could still win the race off of pit road. Crew Chief Greg Ives called him out, and he did.
They had the preferred pit stall as well. Dale Earnhardt Jr. with the #1 pit stall. Stay with us. We'll be back. Coming to NBC, a mind erased and a body of clues that lead to fall's most thrilling mystery. Blind Spot, Mondays this fall on NBC. Ironically, it is Monday here on the East Coast. Marty Snyder.
Rick, we saw Kyle Larson do a fantastic job earlier driving through a wreck, all the way through the wreck, and then this time couldn't quite save it. What happened? What was your perspective?
Yeah, the first time we caught the lapper and he was on the bottom, and I just got to the middle at the wrong time. You know, when we turned off in the corner, I got really loose and was able to save it. I had a little bit of damage there and lost a lap. And then
this is that first wreck.
That was the last one, yeah. And then the 43 comes across. I think I just got on the brakes and it got me sideways, and it was long for the ride from there. But hate it because this is probably the best I ran, you know, throughout a whole race, or well, most of the race here at Daytona. The Sherrcoke Chevy was fast. I had a lot of fun running up front and kind of being somewhat aggressive. I spun, you know, the first time, and then that kind of put us in the bad spot there to get in that last wreck.
Obviously, for the guys still out there, that was probably the final stop of the day. Did you feel the sense of urgency starting to pick up out on the track a little bit?
From what I could tell, being back in the pack, the race for the Lucky Dog, it seemed like they were shuffling around a little bit more up front. So I think the race is about to get a little more interesting and probably see some more carnage. We've already seen quite a bit so far tonight, but intensity is definitely ratcheting.
And the best part, Rick Kyle Larson just fine. He did walk out from the infield care center.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is he was battling for one of the top 16 spots points-wise. Came into this race in the 18th position. Jamie McMurray back onto pit road.
And we saw Jamie, he was in that incident. I don't think the damage is too bad, and that's significant because he's 11th in points. Here's a team that does not have a win. One of the guys we talked about before the race, this being a race where maybe he could win and lock himself into the chase, but being 11th in points, that'll get it done. But they've got to make sure they get this fixed so he can't go take advantage of it.
Let's see how the Toyota drivers are doing in tonight's race. As they cross the start-finish line, the order they are running in continues to shift. We see Denny Hamlin currently 11th, Clint Boyer is 13th, and Matt DiBenedetto is in the 15th spot. It's been a Chevy-dominated race. The top 10 positions right now are Chevrolets. Austin Dillon in the 3. They've had some great communications on their radio. Let's listen in.
Hey, you know, my theory on tires, I don't know if some of these guys out front just took fuel only, but man, I'm telling you, we were catching these guys way faster than I could earlier. I know we had a run from the back. Still felt faster when I got up to the front, though. Like,
I had a driver one time that's really good. He said, give me 4 tires and I'll win the race for you. He did.
Wonder who that driver was that RC was talking about.
I would bet he has a similar number on the door of his car would be my bet.
Absolutely. Dale Earnhardt so successful at Daytona International Speedway. This is what Jeff Gordon had to say on their radio.
How close are we here? A couple short, 1 short, 1 to 2. Could you just save all you can? If we go back green, if you can get any, it'll be great. Yeah, just 1.
Already thinking about saving fuel just outside the window.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely put it outside the window, so they're 1 to 2 laps short. Unfortunately, 1 to 2 laps, 2.5 to 5 miles.
Right. So the field all behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jimmy Johnson as they work their way back into the tri-oval. Hendrick front row, green flag back in the air. "46 laps to go at Daytona." Jimmy Johnson has won here 3 times. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has won here 3 times. They are side by side for the lead as they work through 1 and 2 and down the backstretch.
Jr. He's trying to stay as far away from the 48 as he can. The reason why is he thinks he has a car fast enough. He doesn't need the side drafting. He doesn't want that side draft on him either. So you can see right there, he tucked down and got to the 48's quarter panel and then moved away from him, trying to slow the 48 up.
And you know what I love about Daytona? You look up here, you have Hendrick cars, you have Stewart Haas cars, and Landon Castle, 6, has run in the top 10 all night. A smaller team competing with all the big, heavily funded teams at the restricted plate tracks.
Landon Castle in the 40, Marty.
And what a great run for him, like Letarte was just talking about. I talked to him early this week. He said, listen, I know we're usually pretty good at these restrictor plate races, but we've had DNFs in the last 2 Daytona races. I just want to finish one. I think a top 10 would be a very nice present for this 40 team this evening.
How about the car right in front of him? Tony Stewart said that he has to turn things around. He thinks that this is the track that he can turn things around as we ride along, looking back at Landon Castle.
Yeah, Tony's had a lot of success at this racetrack. There's no question about that. And he needs something to turn around. He needs to win a race. Hey, Mike, you got something?
Yeah, you know, he had a very telling interview with the Associated Press earlier this weekend. He was asked specifically how the drought this year has affected his confidence. Typical Tony Stewart fashion, he was a little sarcastic and said, I need to Google that word because I have no confidence right now. He did, however, say, despite the fact that I've never been real fan of this style of racing, I have some confidence knowing anybody can win here at Daytona, especially him. He's got 19 career wins here. He's hung out at the back most of the night, but just a few laps ago, he said, I'm sticking to the plan. It's time to go to the front, guys.
Here's a three-time champion talking about not having confidence, but he's won here a lot, so it's a place where he can get it back.
How about the move that Dale Earnhardt Jr. makes on Jimmy Johnson? Drops to the bottom of the racetrack. He takes the lead away from the 48 team.
48's fighting back on the outside, though. The 88 couldn't clear him and pull up. The 48 then used the momentum, the big push from the 24 to drive back to his door.
And I'll ask you, driver, is there a preferred line around this racetrack right now? Because Dale Earnhardt Jr. started on the outside. He was able to now take the lead, goes to the inside. Here comes the 48 of Jimmy Johnson on the outside again.
Whichever line, the 88 the 48 in, that's the preferred line. They've been the fastest ones all day. That's where I want to be.
3 wide back behind them, fighting for the 7th position.
Look at Trevor Bayne making it 3 wide on the outside. Let's see if he can clear Jeff Gordon. And let's see if 3 wide works. Again, it hasn't worked all day. Let's see if it works now. Clint Boyer pushing him. Clint's been riding around the back. Now with 43 to go, he's trying to work his way to the front.
48 ducks in behind the 88. They go into turn number 1. 3 wide back there for 5th. Kurt Busch on the inside of the 3 wide in the 41. Jeff Gordon in the 24, riding in the middle.
We see this every restricted plate race with Clint Boyer in that red 15 car on the outside behind Trevor Bayne. He likes to ride around in the back for 3/4 of the race, stay out of trouble, miss the wrecks, then work his way to the front. He's really good at this. He's a really good plate racer. It wouldn't surprise me a bit to see him try to pull this off, and he needs to. They're in that position in points where they're not high enough up to be in the chase. They need a win.
Another impressive run for Paul Menard, currently in the 3rd spot. His best finish ever at Daytona is 6th. So he's trying to improve upon that. Potentially could get that wild card win here at Daytona.
Yeah, and right behind him is Trevor Bayne. He used that 3 wide and was able to clear and get to the bottom. Now he's worked himself up in the 4th. First time we've seen the 3 wide on the outside work.
Denny Hamlin in the 11th. Drops to the bottom of the racetrack. Jeff Gordon's going to tuck in behind him.
David Reagan now
running up high.
Puts David Reagan behind him. David Reagan, his teammate in the 55 car, trying to push him. Sometimes it's great to have a teammate. Sometimes it's awful to have a teammate. I think teammates a lot of times expect more of you than they do anybody else. If you hang them out, they get really, really upset. But you got to treat them just like you would treat anybody else. This sport's about you. You have to be selfish.
All right, Steve, let's talk strategy as we are under 43 to go. Brought to you by Smithfield Foods as the 48 and the 88 continue to fight for the lead.
Well, I think that's what the under 43 to go is all about. Risk versus reward. We've had the 88, the 48 run up front all day long, averaging up in the top 5. But right behind them, you see the 15, the 14, some of the cars that have rode in the back of the 20s. That reward of not getting caught up in the crashes are there, but have they learned enough? The 15, the 14, the guys that have rode in the back, are they smart enough to get up and run with the guys that have run in the front all day long, learned every lap, learned every pass?
Paul Menard now running 2nd. Trevor Bayne is 3rd. Clint Boyer, David Reagan, your top 5, all chasing after Dale Earnhardt Jr. Now it's the high line that Dale Jr. decides to run. An impressive run for the former Daytona 500 winner, Trevor Bayne, Marty.
And Rick, he's driven an extremely smart race. He and Bob Osborne working the radio very well. And keep this in mind, a few cars topped off on lap 113. A lot of these front-running cars, including Dale Earnhardt Jr., our leader, they did not top off. And they're very close as to whether or not they can make it. Bayne feels like they can make it all the way. And look at the guy right behind him, Clint Boyer, back up in the top 5. Should we be surprised, Mike?
And just behind him, you'll find the 55. That's David Reagan, also a driver who topped off at lap 113. We saw a little bit of aggression out of him a week ago in Sonoma, proving he is not going to be pushed around. He's determined to try to make a run toward this chase. He's got 2 career wins. They both come at restrictor plate tracks. He's certainly in the mix right here, Dave.
Mike Casey Mears topped off too, but here's the bigger story for him. Every time he pressed the brake earlier, the brake sensor would kill the engine. That's a safety feature, so they had to come in and change it. Billy Plorta, the car chief, ran back to the hauler to practice so they wouldn't lose a lap. He did it. They stopped for tires, and they made that change and got him back in the game.
And that's what a great team will do in a tough situation. They had to figure it out. They went to the backup car. They practiced. It worked when they were on the clock. Earnhardt out in front.
It's just so confusing.
Well, it's $80 plus $27 for the phone, but that's only one of our 4 unlimited plans.
David Beckham is right. That is confusing.
The other portion carries over, but you have to use the whole portion of data from the current month before you use the rollover portion from the previous month. And that portion resets after 1 month.
It's $15 for any additional gig over your data limit. That is not a good deal.
It's a wireless revolution.
What can I do for you?
All I want is something unlimited and the phone that I want. All in for one price.
Sure. Anything for you, David Beckham.
Oh, and I want it for all my friends.
Okay.
Okay then.
I love you, David Beckham.
Confused about whether or not you're getting the full story from the other guys? Get all-in wireless from Sprint. Unlimited talk, text, high-speed data, and your pickup smartphone for $80 a month, all in.
When a second matters, science matters.
Clear, checker flag, checker flag.
Mobil 1, energy lives here.
We're good together. We're good together. Look at how we shine when we're side by side. Hey, 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 we're good together. We're good together.
Double the lovin' this summer at McDonald's with the double combo for just $2.50.
Hey, we're good together. We're good together.
This is Jim. He's a proud hotel owner, but Jim is frustrated because his beautiful room is not being booked on his website. To cut his losses, he offers it on a popular travel website and a discount website for a reduced price. Why should you care? Because his room is now on 3 different websites for 3 different prices. But on Trivago, you find all of these prices on one site. That's how Trivago finds your ideal hotel for the best price. Hotel Trivago.
It stands on 1.5 million square feet of concrete, reinforced with tons of tradition. It's built with over 31 million pounds of steel and forged on the shoulders of legends. Don't miss out on the biggest race in a generation at the all-new Daytona International Speedway. Tickets are on sale now and moving fast. The Daytona 500, now, forever. Seats will sell out. Guarantee yours now at 1-800-PIT-SHOP or Daytona500.com.
Welcome back. Danica Patrick into the wall in turn number 2. The pack catching up to her as they go down the backstretch. They will go by her on the outside, and
the tire guys, pretty good right front damage.
Sounds like the caution has come out now.
Right side.
Marty, what happened with the 10?
Well, guys, I told you a moment ago in the commercial break, she said over the radio, quote, I heard a lot of noise a moment ago, and they weren't sure what was wrong. They were looking at the car every time they came by. They didn't see anything, but clearly something broke on the 10 car. Remember, they've been in a couple of accidents throughout the evening. They've repaired the car fairly well, but obviously something broke on the 10 car eventually.
She was running in the 28th position. She was the last car on the lead lap. She was by herself over in turn number 2. Take a look and a listen.
Here, guys, coming inside you, then you're all good. No caution yet. Keep rolling. Caution is out. Keep rolling. All you got. The pack is just off at 2. Got on the apron.
Certainly seemed to me like a right front went down. Probably with the damage they had before, it probably got cut on something, rubbed something, or rubbed a hole in it. That would be my guess.
See all the tape that they put on.
Here. Suspension's broke.
And that was a hard hit. You know, we don't think about it. We don't think about the speed she was going when she hit that wall. The angle wasn't bad. There was safer barriers, all that stuff. But still, when you're going at that speed and you hit the wall, it's still a hard hit. But you didn't see her head move around much. Her head's in that containment seat. Not much movement. That's the whole idea behind that containment seat.
And the safer barrier also helping absorb some of that contact. We heard one of the crew members saying suspension broke. We're going to have to go back to the garage.
Yeah, and all the leaders, you see Dale Earnhardt Jr. here working his switches really hard, saving gas. The best time to save gas is under yellow. You see his left hand is on the ignition switch. You hear the engine fire up. He's going to get it running a little bit, shut it off. The car is silent, burning no fuel.
They have to maintain a cautious pace so he can't fall too far behind that pit car. Dave.
And they're not going to pit here. Junior's been told that he's good on fuel with aggressive savings, so they should be good to the end now, especially with these cautions.
Basically, you have to make the decision here. Do you think you're good enough on fuel? The leaders aren't going to give up track position. If I'm in the middle of the pack, I'm coming to get gas. You see Tony Stewart comes, very few takers behind him, though. The leaders, they've made their bed. They're going to save gas, try to stay out. Tony Stewart, he's going to flip the strategy, be good on fuel, give himself the best opportunity to be opposite of the leaders. Might pay off for him.
He needed something to happen. He thought that it might be able to happen here at Daytona, so they're going to gamble. They come to pit road. They're going to change 4 tires, fill it full of fuel, and go back out and look for that first win of 2015. Welcome back to the Coke Zero 400, powered by Coca-Cola. It's ended up being a gorgeous morning in Daytona Beach, Florida. Tonight's aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. Most laps led tonight goes to the 88s of Dale Earnhardt Jr. He'll get credited for leading the most laps in this race because there are only 29 to go when they cross the stripe. The next closest is Jimmy Johnson. So the 66 laps that Dale Earnhardt Jr. has already led will give him those most laps. Join All-In Wireless from Sprint. Get unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data, and pick your smartphone for just $80 a month. Paul Menard was talking about just how ridiculous that 88 is. Listen in.
88's ridiculous. Fast. All night he's been able to go wherever he wanted, whenever he wanted.
We come to Daytona, we talk about the great equalizer, the draft, and that is absolutely true, and you need to have some luck, but every once in a while, and I have been fortunate enough to have this car. We had it in 2014. We won the Daytona 500 with it. You'll show up and you have the car that doesn't need as much luck, doesn't need as much help. And the 88, they seem to have it tonight. That car has been untouchable, Dave.
Steve, checking with Greg Ives, the crew chief. Your car has been called ridiculous fast by others. Are you happy with everything, including the amount of fuel he has?
You know, at the start of the race, we definitely had to work on it. A little too tight in traffic, so we had to put 4 tires on there to be able to get our adjustments. Definitely have enough fuel to make it the distance, just kind of safe for a green-white checker. Dale's been doing a great job, and this Nationwide Insurance team is on cue tonight. So hopefully we can pull it off. It's going to be a great show.
Let's go to Kelly Stavis.
With Justin Alexander and his driver, Paul Menard, 14th in the chase standings, could certainly use a win here tonight, but we heard him say that the 88 is just ridiculously fast, so how do you get by him?
The Nipco Menard Chevrolet's been strong all night. You know, right now we're just we're kind of riding right there at single file, just to trying to log laps till we get to them. But you know, it's going to take a little help with guys behind us. But you know, the car's been strong all night, and you know, we feel we can do it at the end.
All right, thank you, Justin. Rick?
Well, they think they can do it at the end. And we've heard from quite a few people that have thought the 88 is untouchable. But again, we're at Daytona. It's unpredictable. Guys that haven't been to victory lane, could they break that streak tonight? Guys like Casey Mears, it's been a long time. Paul Menard, 140 starts since his last win. Back through the tri-oval, green flag back in the air. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Paul Menard. Jr. has Trevor Bayne behind him, and he shoots out to the lead as they go down the backstretch.
There's no words to describe how big of an advantage the 88 seems to have in his restarts. He clears 2-3 car lengths every single restart. This time, though, has he gotten too far out? What kind of run is the 27 going to have here?
He's going to block the 6. He's going to have to move down and block the 6. Now he's moved up, blocking the 27. He's just got such a fast car. He's going to control the tempo here. Somebody's going to have to make something happen if they're going to beat him. It's going to be hard to do.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. moves to the high line as he watches that line begin to move. A great run by David Reagan in the 55. He's moved up into the 5th position.
He made that move, but nobody went with him. So making that move is actually going to hurt him. He's going to fall back by trying to pass somebody. That's what's so hard about Daytona. Hey, I'm trying to pass. I'm trying to do the right thing. But in doing it, nobody went with him. It was actually the wrong thing to do. He'd have been better off trying to stay in line.
But that's the frustrating part. He tried to win the race, and it's the wrong thing to do. You have to have help, but at the same time, it gets so frustrating riding in line behind a car that everybody's talked about as the fastest car. At some point, you want to gang up and try to beat him.
Paul Menard trying to do just that as he runs in the 2nd spot. Clint Boyer also looking for a win in 2015. He runs in the 3rd position. Casey Mears. Sam Hornish Jr. in the top 5. Trevor Bayne back there as well. Now the 4 of Kevin Harvick going the wrong direction. He's backing up as well.
Now think about it. You got Menard in 2nd, Boyer in 3rd, Mears in 4th, Bayne in 5th, Hornish in 6th. All these guys, they not only want to win, they desperately need a win. They're going to do anything they can to win this race. It could give them an opportunity to win a championship. It could be bigger than just winning this single race.
How about the 24 of Jeff Gordon as he slides in behind the 6 of Trevor Bayne? He's moving to the front as that bottom line begins to form up and pick up some momentum.
They're forcing the issue. They can't allow Dale Jr. to command the top of the racetrack and get this group single file. He did it in Talladega. They've seen this play before. They have to continue to force a second line or the laps are going to be gone. And if you're from 5th on back, you won't have a chance.
That inside line starting to gain some speed, but it's got to move because the top line with Dale Earnhardt Jr., Paul Menard, and Clint Boyer still very strong. What's happening with the 18 team, Marty?
Let's talk about Clint Boyer, actually, who's up in the 3rd position, Rick. And let's review his evening. Involved in the very first incident of the night, was up front at that point, dropped to the back of the field, had a loose wheel at one point, and now has run his way all the way back to the front. Mr. Crew Chief, Mr. Letarte, now do you disagree still with Clint Boyer's decision to ride in the back? He's been able to make his way back up to the top 3 and has a shot to win this thing, too.
I tell you, I'm a stubborn crew chief, Marty. I'm going to have to get beat with that strategy before I agree with it. I know he's gotten up to the top 3rd, but with 24 to go, I've yet to see him make a pass for the lead. And I think when it comes time to win the race, the guys that ran in the front know the air, know the track, know the moves. The lead is different than the rest of the field, and the guys that have led all day have an advantage.
That's pretty much been Dale Earnhardt Jr. 71 laps led. Jimmy Johnson 35 laps led. Denny Hamlin, he's been up front for 10 laps. Austin Dillon led 8 laps. Casey Kane 5. But it has been a dominant performance for the 88 team.
See Trevor Bayne trying to lead this bottom lane. I don't like what he's doing. I think he's got to run the bottom in the corners. Him running the middle of the racetrack has allowed double wide to form behind him. Now instead of being single file and having 2 rows, now he has 3 rows, so he doesn't have that push. I think in the corners you need to stay on the bottom to try to get the line to go with you. Instead, by him running the middle, it made it 3 wide, and you're not going to gain if you're 3 wide.
I agree completely. You got to run the bottom in the corners, and in the straightaway, run up inside, draft them, get to the corner, run away from the outside line.
It just kills the momentum behind you. Now you're 3 wide behind you. They can't push you.
24 of Jeff Gordon in the middle of 3 wide, as is Denny Hamlin. That inside line led by Trevor Bayne. How about Matt DiBenedetto in the 83? Up into the top 10. The draft, the great equalizer here at Daytona.
It is for everybody except for the 88 tonight. We'll see if they can mount a charge to get around him.
Paul Menard, a great run here at Daytona. His best finish at this track, 6th. Has that 1 win that came at the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
So Jeff, if you're the 88, I want to know, would you rather have Menard, Boyer, Mears, Hornish, Bayne, Stenhouse, guys that are looking for their first win, are they going to be more or less timid than if you had a line of cars behind you that already got a win? When we were at Talladega, we heard Blaney say that he didn't dare pull out and pass the 88 because he didn't feel anybody would go with him. Do you feel that this line of cars at the top has that same sort of fear?
Well, I do, but I think Trevor Bayne now, they're single file on the bottom. Now everybody all that's sorted out. What's going to determine who wins this race if we don't get another caution is, can this bottom line work? The bottom line right now is building some momentum because they have gone single file. And Trevor needs to keep running the bottom in the corners, not move up the racetrack, but put that thing on the yellow line, take the shortest way around. That's really what it's going to boil down to, the momentum of the bottom line.
In the back of your mind, as a crew chief and as the team, do you question if you got it completely full the last time you were on pit road? Because we were right on the edge of having enough fuel or maybe not having enough fuel if it continues to go green the entire way.
Well, my brain is confident we have an entire full, but my stomach will never agree with it. It'll be turning in knots right now trying to figure. My stomach knows every mistake we could have made, and it's going to think about it and think about it and think about it. But you have to stand with your decision, be confident, work the numbers. That's all you can do at this point. The biggest concern at a place like Daytona is if you're wrong and you run out of gas in front of 40 other cars, it's not just going to hurt your finish. It could end your night in a big crash.
Now, your stomach's nervous, but your brain's got to be telling you, we're going to get another caution anyway. I mean, it happens all the time at Daytona. The thought that to go green flag, it's not going to happen in most cases. We're going to get another caution. You're going to have a chance to save some more fuel.
And we're hearing that the 48 of Jimmie Johnson definitely good on fuel. Is that right, Marty?
Exactly right. Chad Knaus told him after they went to green here, he said, we're good on fuel. Don't worry about that for the rest of the run. So maybe the driver can take the fuel equation out of his head now. Johnson, one of those guys who pitted at lap 111. Again, Bayne in front of him pitted 2 laps later.
Yeah, Marty, I hear that. That's under green. But I bet when the yellow comes out, they're going to be saving gas again, because what about overtime? We don't know if we're racing to 160. We could be 162, 164. So even though they're not worried about fuel here under green, when they get under caution, they'll continue to save fuel.
Junior's getting ready to have to make a decision right here. That bottom lane has gotten there. At some point, he's going to have to make a decision. Do I need to come down here and block Trevor Bayne? They're right there at this point.
18 laps of racing to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. out in front. Trevor Bayne trying to get the lower line moving. Paul Menard looking for his first win of 2015, his second career win. He runs second in the high line. Now Junior moves to the bottom of the racetrack because that lower line is moving.
And watch Dale Jr., we spoke about this earlier. He looks up in the top mirror. He's looking in the mirror more than he's ever looking out the windshield. Up in the mirror, glance out the window, back up in the mirror. Every once in a while, he'll glance to the left mirror. That's where he's driving. He knows what's in front of him. It's clean air in front of him. His whole key is to keep those two lines organized, compact, and behind him.
Mirror driving, that's what you got to do. You get in trouble for it on the highways, but here it can win you this race. You got to drive out of the window. You got to block. You got to do everything you can to keep that momentum from coming.
And the pack is coming up on the 26th of Jeff Burton. Burton drops down below the double yellow line to allow the pack by. And that allows Dale Earnhardt Jr. to continue monitoring his mirror as he tries to stay in front of the 6th of Trevor Bayne.
Trevor taking a look, doesn't have any help, not going to be able to make that move.
And guys, we're hearing Dale Earnhardt Jr. talk about his car getting tight, and that'd be a big concern of mine if I'm the crew chief, because in clean air as the leader, you shouldn't have any problem with handling. Is that what you're hearing down there, Dave?
Steve, he's feeling something. It is the car tightening up. He tried to correct it by having the fans on, and crew chief Greg Ives asked him, you got your fans on? He said, they are working. So maybe I have a tire going down. But that was about 5 laps ago. Is this getting antsy there, Rick?
A little bit of contact there between the 48 and the 6. They straightened it back out, but the 6 got sideways there in front of the entire pack.
Yeah, that had the opportunity to be really, really big. But you know, Dave, what happens when you have a car that's led almost 80 laps at Daytona and everybody in the field said how dominant it was starting with practice on Thursday, it's going to be easy to start feeling things. So hopefully he doesn't have an issue, but we're just going to have to wait and see.
He's got Hendrick Power behind him now, though. He's had the Hendrick Power out in front of everybody. He hasn't had to fend off Jimmie Johnson, Jeff Gordon over the last 10 laps. Well, he does now. Let's see if he can hold these guys off. And Jimmie Johnson and Jeff Gordon, they're in the same line. They're going to try to work together. Well, they were in the same line.
How about the little bit of wiggle between the 48 and the 6? It could have been big. This is what it looked like.
48 goes to make the move. 6 of Bayne tries to block, gets a little bit of contact. Trevor Bayne did a good job. Everybody, he never lifted, never lost momentum. nobody around them had to brake. They were all able to keep going forward.
Is there any place worse than the tri-oval for that? I've always heard from drivers over all these years how light their car is from the tri-oval. As a crew chief, the tri-oval is straightaway. It doesn't even exist, but for drivers,
it's not a straightaway, I promise you.
I've heard that for
It's
years.
a corner and it doesn't have any bank in it. And you guys don't care if it doesn't handle good there, but that's what you see when you get together in the tri-oval. It is a handful.
You know, Jeff, you mentioned the Jimmy Johnson. You see him looking low there on the 88, working on the 88's rear bumper. Earlier in the race, we had Hendrick cars 1 through 4. They were playing nice together, staying in line. And I know now they're trying to work together, but with 14 to go, they're trying to win the race.
Trevor Bain on the outside there. See Jamie McMurray stuck in the middle. Not where you want to be right now.
Under 14 laps to go from Daytona. Now it's Denny Hamlin on the high line, trying to get that line to move in front of the 88. A lot have tried, but no one has succeeded. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson on the bottom of the racetrack. His teammate just behind him in the 54. How about the 51? Justin Allgaier. He's 4th back on the inside line. He's broke into the top 10.
I don't care how long the rain delay was, guys. This is what I came to Daytona to see. We had qualifying canceled. We had to wait out the rain today, but look at this. 13 to go. Dale Jr. leading 2 by 2 behind him. This is Speedway racing at its finest.
I hate it when the people didn't stay awake. Those guys that are sleeping, they're missing a lot. This is a great race.
Oh, and around goes the 55. David Reagan trying to keep hold of it, sliding through the grass. Right now it's a 1-car incident. The caution has come out.
Fire it up, get it rolling.
Going down the backstretch.
Didn't hit nothing, come on. We're rolling.
Reagan scored in the 15th position when he got sideways and into the grass. All 4 tires look to still be up, and he's on the
got a
apron.
flat tire. Just check the body, went all through the grass.
The left side tire.
It's all good. That's fixed left side flat.
Look back on the backstretch. Just in front of 3 wide, and he goes sideways.
Yeah, it looks to me like maybe Kurt Busch was, trying to help. Comes up there, maybe gives him a little push. It's either the air or bumper to bumper, hard to see from the front, but definitely was right behind the 55. The 55 has that big wiggle. You see here from the start, no, he actually comes up and comes across the car in the middle. The 41 was about a car length back, so he just changes lanes. That's what happens on the backstretch. You're jockeying for position. We've already talked about how far away that is for the spotters. The 55 goes to the right. Landon Castle's already there in the 40. It catches him on the right rear quarter panel. It's really, really lucky there was just a 1-car incident.
Yeah, most racetracks, we always wreck in the corner. At Daytona, we see a lot of wrecks on the back straightaway because everybody's jockeying for position, trying to get themselves in a line that they want to be in. How about old Casey Kane on the bottom? He had to be looking in his mirror saying, hey, how am I going to get in this wreck? He ultimately didn't get hit, but he had to be wondering what was getting ready to happen.
There's more of that grass here at Daytona that Kyle Busch has talked about. They'll have to clean that off the front of that race car. Free pass goes to Joey Logano. That will put 29 cars on the lead lap as we close in with 12 laps to go. Welcome back to the Coke Zero 400, powered by Coca-Cola, Daytona International Speedway. Under 10 laps of racing to go. Tonight's aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. The 88, some interesting radio communication moments ago under this caution. Here's what he had to say.
I hope it's whatever, we got a vibration and the car is real tight, whatever that is. I hope it doesn't get worse. It's going to be perfect for the last 10 laps. That's what we're going to need to win this thing. Doing a great job up there.
I like the sales job that Greg gave him back. I mean, those are the communications that, no offense, Jeff, but as a crew chief, you could have just told me that after the race because there's not much I could do about it. But there is a concern. If you have a vibration, the car's getting tight, you're thinking right front tire. Maybe there's an issue with the right front tire. As a crew chief, I'm hoping maybe a fender has broken loose and it's flapping. Maybe it's an aero vibration. But at this point, I mean, you're committed. 10 to go at Daytona. You've worked all day long to be in this position.
And you got to love it. It wasn't that, hey, it's okay. It's actually better. It's going to be better.
It's going to be better.
Just like we wanted.
You might feel a vibration, but that's what I wanted it to feel like.
Yes,
You're going to win this
it's all
race.
part of the plan.
Lights are off on the pace car. Dale Earnhardt Jr., your race leader. Jimmy Johnson will restart second on the high line. Denny Hamlin, Jeff Gordon in his final laps at Daytona International Speedway. 9 laps to go. Green flag back in the air. Another great restart by Dale Earnhardt Jr. Picking the line that he feels is moving, gets in front of them until the next line moves. Now Denny Hamlin almost out on an island. Kevin Harvick goes to 3 wide in the middle.
Being pushed by Tony Stewart, trying to make that middle, trying to make it work. Sometimes that middle can build momentum late in the race.
Already 3 wide back there for the 6th position. Dale Earnhardt Jr. across the stripe. 8 laps of racing to go.
And that 3 wide racing is what the 88 wants to see. He can block 1 lane. He can even block 2 lanes. And when you get 3 wide back there in the 3rd row, it kills the runs. It really numbs how much run they're going to get on the leader.
Justin Allgaier in the 51 was on the inside, now dropping back just a bit.
Going to get tight getting into 3 right here. The 51 is trying to get up against the 4 to slow him down. Get into 3, it gets really tight. The 4 is right against the 51.
3 wide for the 4th position now. Denny Hamlin on the inside. Looking back on Tony Stewart trying to make something happen in 2015. A big push by Stewart. Here comes the 40. Landon Castle on the outside trying to move toward the front. Now just 7 laps of racing to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in front of Jimmy Johnson. Trevor Bayne on the high line. Denny Hamlin down on the low line.
Where we are right now, not only does Junior have to block, but Jimmy Johnson has to block too. He's leading that 2nd group, so if he can block at the right time and get some momentum from the car coming behind him, that might could push him past Junior.
And that's the problem. You have no commitment. Jimmy Johnson has no commitment from Denny Hamlin. What Jimmy really wants to do is roll out of the throttle or drag the brake, stack that line up and get the shove out. But if he touches the brake, Denny Hamlin's going to pull out of line. It's very hard at this point in the race to be 2nd or 3rd and try to organize a run.
Jeff Gordon on the bottom trying to make something happen, but again, it's 3 wide behind him, so there's no help.
Only 6 laps of racing to go. Jeff Gordon running in the 5th position.
So Jeff Gordon
wide behind him.
He cleared. Which line does he go to? Now Harvick's not quite clear. Harvick's on the outside of him. Now, boom, he didn't make a commitment.
Oh, and around goes the car behind him. That's the 6, or excuse me, the 9. A very close call there for Sam Hornish Jr. in the 9. The caution comes out. Now we're getting closer to the possibility of a green-white checker.
I think that's an advantage for the 88. I think we've seen every restart. He leaves the line with a huge advantage. He gets them 2 wide behind him. He's out there clearing his own. He can block the top. He can block the bottom. I think there's a lot of opportunity for the 88. He's been great on these restarts. The biggest concern he has right now is will they get organized? And I think the best thing for him is there is a wide variety of teammates behind him. Johnson, Hamlin, Bayne, Harvick, Menard. I would be more concerned if I saw 2 or 3 Joe Gibbs cars, 2 or 3 Stewart-Haas cars. I see a plethora of teammates.
I tell you something else too, starting side by side with another Hendrick Power. So can that power slow Earnhardt down? Can Johnson get a good enough restart here to go side by side with him and ultimately side draft him? And then it's going to turn into who does the best job of behind each group of pushing the car in front.
An incredible amount of damage to the front end of the 9 of Sam Hornish Jr. And you see a lot of dirt that was drug out onto the track. They will have to clean up.
Splitter's stuck on the racetrack, ain't getting moving.
Let's look back at what happened, the wild ride that Sam Hornish Jr. had.
We've seen
Murray
this.
got together.
Yeah, we have. We've seen this time and time again. You see the splitter makes huge contact with the grass. The car starts to bounce. Luckily, it lands on all four and just continues to spin. But we've seen this. The 9 goes to make a move, looks for that inside line, wasn't clear of the 1, drives across his nose, ends up spinning through the grass.
Tore the splitter completely off when it grabbed the grass initially. And then once again, hit hard and up into the air. A wild ride for Sam Hornish Jr.
He's still driving it. Look at those hands. Still driving it.
And listen, I know I make it sound simple that he drives across the 1, but Sam Hornish is trying to go forward. He's not changing lanes to get out of the way. He's changing lanes to try to get in the right lane, to try to make something happen. All the way back in 13th, these guys are still looking for an advantage.
A twisted car and twisted T on the hood for Sam Hornish Jr. He goes to the ambulance. He'll get a ride to the infield care center. Marty, Chad Knaus has got to be feeling fairly comfortable, but at the same time maybe a little bit nervous if he can get by that 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I would say comfortable, and I'm not sure if he can get by his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's been awfully fast tonight. Key question there, Chad. Can you get by the 88 car?
I don't know. We're going to have to see. Obviously, real proud of the performance on both the 48 and the 88 tonight. They've led a bunch of laps and been, I think, the 2 best cars out there tonight. So my hat's off to the guys at our shop. And it's been a lot of fun with the Lowe's Chevrolet Power Pride car this weekend. It's really neat on America's birthday to be able to come out here and race with the red, white, and blue car. And it's been good, man. You know, we'll just have to see. It's all going to be the restart. We're just going to have to see what happens there. Wish Rick was here with us, buddy. He's not here. He's out, talking to him. I think, down in Key West somewhere watching this thing on TV. At least I hope he's still up.
Is it only right that the 2 fastest cars are going to maybe decide it between those guys?
Yeah, I mean, we'll just see. Yeah, I think it's the way it should play out. But, you know, we're just going to see on this restart what happens. Obviously, lane selection is going to be important. Who's going to give you the push? All that stuff's going to come into play right now. And then, obviously, if we get another caution and green-white checker, everybody's going to start getting tight on fuel. So it could get really interesting real fast.
A lot of variables still to play out here this evening, Kelly.
Dave Rogers trying to get Denny Hamlin his first win here at Daytona. What do you need, though, to make a move on the 48 and 88?
Denny's been driving the wheels out this FedEx Toyota Camry. He's done a great job. We started in the back, and he's made his way to the front a couple times here. We just need a good restart. We need a little help on our back bumper to get by that HMS power, but I think we got a shot.
We know you came in for fuel, so you are good to go, but how closely is this race playing out according to your plan?
Well, I think everybody's good to go on fuel here. We got enough yellows, but we're certainly better off than the rest of them. We'll see how many green-white checkers we get.
All right, thank you very much. Dave to Dave.
About ready to start the first green-white checker. Greg Ives, he was a little bit concerned about a vibration. How were you able to analyze the feedback he gave you?
To be honest with you, at this point, we're going for the win. And, you know, if that vibration is still there at the end and we cross the checkered, you know, first or 20th, it really doesn't matter. We're here to get first. And so he's just going to have to do the best with what he got. And, you know, I know it's probably just something, you know, that happens on a last set of tires or something like that. So nothing to worry about.
You looking okay on fuel?
Yes, we'll be good on fuel.
All right. Greg Ives is going to watch the 80 try to win here tonight, Rick.
And he's a comfortable crew chief. Nothing to worry about. That vibration, you know,
it's better.
That doesn't feel right. Nothing to worry about.
Just how we wanted it.
Well, I mean, what do you want the poor guy to say? I've been in that seat. It's going to have to be better. It's going to have to be okay.
Let's look back on how this race has unfolded tonight. Early on, lap 3, David Gilliland in 38. Just off the nose of Clint Boyer. He goes sideways. 10 cars collected in that multi-car crash.
Yeah, Kyle Busch's bad luck continues. He gets up high, gets loose, gets into the fence. Definitely not what he needed to see to try to gain those points back.
Carl Edwards got loose. He also got loose all by himself. A wild ride.
Went for an even wilder ride in the second incident he was involved in. And Brian Scott got up underneath the 19.
Matt Kenseth trying to get in there. Doesn't ever touch. Just the air gets pulled off the back of the spoiler. Round he goes.
Tremendous amount of cars involved in this one. This one was definitely the biggest incident of the night.
Just to add on to the 18's night, currently in the 15th position. They've been on pit road 12 times and currently 15th. So Not a bad night for Kyle Busch.
This restart's going to determine who wins this race. Watch right here. Look at Dale Earnhardt Jr., the restart before this one. He's got his hand out the window. Watch it. Watch. Boom, boom, boom. He starts waving his hand. That's the signal to Denny Hamlin behind him to go. What you want to happen is you actually want the 11 car in that case to go just a millisecond before you do to get the momentum, actually hit you a little bit, and then you go. That gets you out in front of everybody.
And still conserving fuel. In a green-white checker situation, NASCAR will make 3 attempts to finish under green flag conditions. If they come around and get the white flag, if the leader gets the white flag, the next flag will end the race, whether it be the checker or a caution.
So this restart, not only is it key for the 48 and the 88 to get up through the gears smooth, to do the best job they can to have the 6 on their bumper and the 11 on their bumper, but when you go back 3 or 4 rows, the energy can definitely go away. Jimmy Johnson had some interesting comments a minute ago.
You know, that last run, Jimmy, Dale did wave on the 11, and he definitely did push. He definitely did get him going before you went.
So they're actually watching the broadcast. Chad Canal saw our replay and said, we're seeing that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is signaling the car behind him to go.
Which I'm sure Jimmy already knew that because I've seen him signal as well. That's why Dale signals out that left side window. Doesn't give Jimmy an advantage to be able to see it.
And the other reason is his arm's not long enough to reach out the right side of the window.
That's excellent.
Here they come into the tri-oval. Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the inside. Green-white checker. Green flag back in the air.
No help right here. No help right here. Get on your tight here. You should get pushed by him here. It's about quarter mark of 1 and 2, and he's still there.
Kurt Busch in the 41, trying to force his way up the middle. 3 wide. It's go time. Just 2 laps of racing to go at Daytona.
88 got a good start. Now it's all about blocking. He's going to have to block these big runs that are going to come from the 11 and the 48.
The only other car to get by the 88 tonight has been the 48. Now Denny Hamlin running second. Side by side for third. Kevin Harvick in the 4. Jimmy Johnson in the 48. This time by, they'll see the white flag. Dale Earnhardt Jr. back to the bottom of the racetrack to block. White flag in the air one more time around Daytona.
11, on the bottom. Here he comes.
They're side by side for second. 2-car length lead for Dale Earnhardt Jr. as they work their way through 1 and 2, and down the backstretch they go. Junior blocking the lower line. Does that give the advantage to the 48? Junior jumps up in front of Jimmy Johnson. To the bottom of the racetrack, Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to stay in front of the pack. They work their way through 3 and 4. Into the tri-oval they come. Dale Earnhardt Jr. to the bottom of the track. Junior will win at Daytona. And the big one happens behind them.
Oh my God.
Austin Dillon into the catch fence. All the crews getting out to that car to assist these drivers. Thumbs going up from all the crew members, and the crowd roars. Look at the catch fence on the front straight. Members pulling. Austin Dillon out. He's walking. The damage to the 4 of Kevin Harvick. What an incredible sight to see Austin Dillon walking away from that 3 car that is demolished. Back.
Unbelievable impact. Austin Dillon, watch this replay. when he gets into the catch bench, the car comes to a complete stop. I've never seen a car stop that quickly before.
And again, they're going upwards of 190 miles an hour through the tri-oval. You see where that car got up into the air and into the catch fence. And as you mentioned, it came to a stop right there.
You see the fence is pulled away, but the cabling, the horizontal cabling is still intact. They try to keep the car, any large pieces of the car, on the racing surface and out of the stands or the walkway area there.
There is the engine.
Incredible impact. Unbelievable.
And what an incredible sight to see the thumbs going up from the crew members that were checking on Austin, and then Austin Dillon to walk away from that accident. Safety crews continue to check on all of the drivers that were involved in this incident. Let's take another look. Dale Earnhardt Jr. crossing the start-finish line, winning the race, but then the accident takes place behind him.
Yeah, the 11 gets kind of stuck in the middle there and comes across the Ford's bumper. As he does, he spins back in, gets the 3 airborne, and he just gets projected off the other cars right up into the fence.
He went from the bottom of the racetrack over 2 rows of cars and into that catch fence.
Here we go. You can see him on the bottom. Rex starts in front. He runs in the back of the 24. Gets up on the 11. Now he's on top of the 55. And now it's just along for the ride. Watch the car stop. Watch the car stop. It gets into those poles, and it goes from, I don't know what, 180, 190 miles an hour, I'm just guessing, to a complete stop. That is unbelievable.
And it looks like that's 3,500 pounds. That stock car is extremely heavy. You see here, after he's upside down, the 2 is spinning. Obviously, he's already lost control, makes more contact with the 3.
11 and the 4 to get together. Here we are at the start-finish line.
It just pushes the 3 up into the air enough that it rolls over the top of a car. And then that momentum just continues to move him into the catch fence. Let's ride along with Kevin Harvick.
Top's covered. Middle's open. Come on. Oh, we got a terrible wreck behind you. Just hold it straight, buddy. Hold it straight.
And you heard Kevin Harvick, as much as he wants to get to the start-finish line, as he sees the 11 start to spin, he's out of the gas. It's just line after line of car pushing everyone through there.
Take another look at this real time. According to track safety, they are attending to 3 fans in the grandstands. Some debris did get through that fence. One of the most amazing things I've seen tonight, and we've seen a lot of incredible things, but one of the most amazing things is when that crew pulled Austin Dillon out of the 3, and Austin Dillon is able to walk out of that accident, out of that crash, and then acknowledge the fans by waving to them.
I hope everybody's okay. That's a scary, scary accident, but I just know
A lot of cars involved as they had crossed the start-finish line.
You saw those crew members running out to the car, you know, to go check on him. I know NASCAR doesn't like that, but you have to appreciate the compassion those teams showed, trying to get out there to try to help him and get there as quickly as they could.
Well, that sign there, when those crew members put the thumbs up, and they knew, they were all looking around going, okay, I know we're not supposed to be out here, but that looks so incredible. on. This will be a wild ride. That was Tony Stewart going underneath the 3. And here was the response from Austin Dillon after he got out, pulled the helmet off. The crowd was roaring at this point in time.
Yeah, this has to be the best sight of the night. You know, this is the scary part of auto racing. So when you see a big accident, we see Austin Dillon get out. He's removing, what he's removing there is his head and neck restraint. It connects to his helmet to keep his helmet from overextending somewhere. A Hans device, that's another version of it. Another safety innovation really that's been required in NASCAR for a few years now.
Almost overshadowed is the winner of this race. Dale Earnhardt Jr. once again in victory lane. We go to Marty.
And he has pulled into victory lane, and be a little bit of a muted victory lane celebration, but a celebration nonetheless. Dale Earnhardt Jr. back in victory lane in Daytona. And Junior, I know your first reaction was not as you applaud your crew. Your first reaction wasn't, hey, we won. Your first reaction is you were worried about Austin Dillon and everyone else.
Yeah, that scared the hell out of me. I'll be honest with you. I saw the whole thing happen. You know, you're looking in the mirror the whole last lap, and I saw Danny get turned. I guess that's kind of how it started, and that was terrifying to watch. You know, a wreck like that's got such a high potential for someone to get injured, and you saw the car get high and get into the fence, and you're just worrying about everybody else in the grandstands and all that stuff. You just don't want to see that happen. So, you know, it was a touch and go there for several moments, and I was so thankful. I'm more thankful that everybody's okay than to be standing here in victory lane, that's for sure.
We'll talk about the win for your race team, though. The car looked so dominant, especially on restarts. How key was that this evening?
Just great motors. The guys in the engine shop did such a good job, so got to thank all those guys. My 88 boys, all the guys back in the shop, they put together such good cars. This car is the one we won Talladega with. It's going to get retired one of these days. Hopefully we get to keep using it. Hopefully the boss man doesn't put it in the barn yet. But I want to thank Nationwide, Diet Mountain Dew, Kelly Blue Book, Chevrolet Sprint, and Microsoft, one of our new partners, for everything they do. I had a lot of fun tonight. You hate to see that kind of a wreck at the end. You don't want to see anybody be put in danger like that. So I'm just so thankful that all the drivers are okay and shook us up pretty good. I think, you know, we got down there at the end of pit road, and Jimmy come up to me, and the first thing he said was, you know, how wild was that and how scary was that? We weren't even, you know, really shaking hands about the win or nothing. You hate to see that. So just so thankful that nobody's hurt. It's very close call there.
The vibration on that last run, how worried were you? Because you know how drivers get when you're leading like that and have a dominant car like that, it's easy to get worried.
When you're really running good, you start to hear all the noises and everything that the car probably is already making. You just don't really pay attention to them. We had a right rear tire going flat on the first run of the day. I was getting tight, air pressure coming out of the right rear was making the car tight. I didn't really have a vibration, but we were thinking we just needed to work on the balance of the car, but it was weird to be tight leading the race. So to find out that the right rear tire was going down, it was a bit of a blessing in disguise, so we didn't work on the balance of the car too much. Put tires on it and it started driving great. The 10 car hit the wall over there, and we drove through it under caution, the first car through it. And I had a vibration immediately after that restart and was real tight. So I thought, well, it feels just like that right rear tire going down again. So I was just ready for it, and I wanted to run the wall in case it did blow out. I wouldn't have far to go before I hit anything. But all those guys were getting racy, so we had to start protecting the bottom some. Apparently it was just a gremlin, but the car was a little bit tight on the balance side, and leading it just shouldn't be that way. So that was an abnormal thing, but still very fast. You know, had to block a lot, but had to pick my lanes and get pushes from the guys that were coming, and did what I had to do. You know, race everybody real hard. You got to run real hard to and defend every single position, whether it's a teammate or anybody. You're best friends out there. You got to run them all real hard to win these things here.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. certainly happy to be in victory lane, but more importantly, just happy that all the drivers on the track were fine in that big accident.
Yeah, and the crew that were standing behind Dale here in victory lane, they were the first ones to Austin Dillon because they were right there in that first pit stall. As we look at Austin Dillon's number 3, the tow truck is going to take whatever is left of that car back to the garage. And we look at the grandstands. Again, the safety personnel attending to, we've heard 3 fans in the grandstands. Look at the catch fence and what is left of it. The steel cables going through, making sure that, trying to keep as much of that car inside the racing area as they could on the track. Here's the end of the race once again.
Just an unbelievable impact. You know, we talk about how the soft walls and the impact there, but the catch fencing, as it gives, it needs to give to a point. It kind of grabs and just stops the car almost instantaneously.
And an explosion when that car hits that fence. You could hear it. You could almost feel it. Here's Tony Stewart. The car will go right over the top of Tony.
Just never seen a car stop at that rate. I mean, going from that fast to essentially zero. So, you know, and that's what scared me, to be quite honest with you, when I saw it, how quickly he stopped. Because just like we talked about angle of impacts on walls, you know, when a car stops that quickly, the driver's got to be feeling that. There's got a lot of be going on inside that race car, and it honestly scared me. Thought about, you know, his dad, his mom, Mike Dillon, his granddad, his grandmother. I mean, that's the first thing was going through my mind.
The reinforced catch fences. After Kyle Larson in the Xfinity race got into that fence, they worked on it, they honed it, they tried to reinforce it. That car, obviously 3,500 pounds, it was able to shear off 2 of the poles on the front stretch. We're hearing from NASCAR that the safety and the health and services there, they're attending to 3 fans in the grandstands, but they're attending to them with minor injuries, is what we're hearing.
That's wonderful news, because as you see, you know, the car stays mostly intact as far as the driver compartment is concerned, but there's a tremendous amount of pieces missing off that car. The entire front engine is missing, and you know, it doesn't take a small piece at that speed. It can be a dangerous item. So it's great to hear that they're attending to minor injuries, right. and the car, even as damaged as it is, the driver compartment is intact, which is great. It kept its integrity around the driver the best it could. You see here the solid sheet steel next to the driver, and the driver's door stayed intact. The floor pan is intact.
The 2, the 11, and the 6, all involved in this accident, have been to the infield care center. They've been checked and released. And that might be the best sight we saw all evening and into the morning. One of the drivers that was involved in this incident and was in the infield care center, standing by with Mike Massaro.
And Denny Hamlin just taking his first glance at the replay there, Rick, and getting a sense of what happened behind him. What did you see?
Well, I really didn't get it. They got to run it back. But the 4 was pushing me, or was trying to push me to the line. And he had us jacked up. And we crossed the line, I thought, or we were close. Yeah, I mean, he's trying to help. But it just wrecked a bunch of stuff. You know, at some point, you know, none of us were going to win the race for second and third, so we all have wins. So, you know, at some point you got to hit the concede button. But yeah, you know, also took one heck of a ride. Wow.
And the catch fence. There's going to be talk about the catch fence. In your opinion, did it do what it was supposed to do?
Yeah, I think so. It looks like it kept the car in the racetrack, which is good. I rode in the ambulance with Austin, and he said he felt fine. So I think everything is gone really well. I think NASCAR's done a great job, and this track has done a good job of stepping up. We're gonna, anytime you get these cars turned around backwards at these speeds, there's gonna be lift, and we're gonna get these cars in the air. It's just part of physics, and so I think everything did its job there.
Glad to see you're okay.
All right, thank you.
Kelly?
Jimmy Johnson finished second, but it's a little bit hard to talk about racing after seeing a wreck like that. All the talk of the safety improvements, but we've seen the dangers very much still real. What did you see from the 48?
Yeah, it's a part of our sport. It was really interesting to watch the playback and to see how the 3, I just thought he was backwards, and that's why the car took off. And then to see the replay there and to see there's a little contact with the front of the 11 car, and that sent it in the air. And then the fact the car just climbed altitude like it did and went in the fence. I've never seen anything like that. And then how fast it stopped. Happy to know that Austin's okay, and certainly hope that the fans are. Just a scary, scary moment. And I saw it all take place in the mirror, and I mean, it hit me hard. I thought, something really bad happened.
Yeah, so what does it say about the safety, the fact that he got out, waved to the crowd, and is okay?
It's remarkable. I mean, the car's ripped in half. The front snout's gone. The engine's laying out there. We've done a nice job of protecting the drivers, and hats off to everyone involved. You have debris that gets in the grandstands, and if there was another car tumbling, the fence is down, so you got to look at other cars following behind that. So we can be better, but it is great to have the focus of NASCAR on the tracks and even our teams to make these cars safe. So everybody's working in the right direction to make these things safe.
Thank you, Jimmy. Mike?
Landon Castle just saw the replay, and the first words out of his mouth were unbelievable. What do you think?
Man, I mean, it was unbelievable. It's just really tight racing, and you just can't drive over the left rear people. They wreck every time. That's what happens. So I'm just so proud of my Hillman Racing team, my Snap Fitness Chevy. We're so fast on these super speedways, and we can run up front. We've proved it. So I'm proud of our finish. And the guys are just going to have to build another car, and we'll go to Talladega and be even faster.
From your perspective behind the steering wheel, what did you see?
I mean, it just looked like the 11 was fighting for space, and the car behind him either ran him over or the 11 came down on him, one or the other. But it just, that kind of left rear combination doesn't work. It's just kind of what causes wrecks here. So it's just tight racing. I mean, I was kind of in it earlier on the backstretch with the 55 car, and I just clipped him and tried to get out of the way and spun him out, and it just happened. So. But it's fun racing, and I'm glad that everybody's okay. I think I hope everybody's okay. I know Austin. I think he's going to be all right. But it's just it's quite a show.
We are still waiting for Austin to emerge from the care center. Still waiting out here, Dave.
Jeff Gordon is on pit lane, hopped out of his race car. Jeff, describe what you've been watching here.
Oh my gosh, chaos! I mean, it's crazy. Just, I mean, I'm so glad Austin Dillon's okay. That's a violent wreck, and I hope the fans are okay as well. But that was a crazy one. It's going to be crazy. I mean, right from the start, I thought it was a wild race. It was just a lot of action, crazy stuff going on. Our Exalted Chevrolet was excellent. It was so good. A couple moves here and there. It's so hard to predict these races and what line to be in. The one time they came up the middle, I thought that was the place to be. And Trevor Bain got to the outside of me, and that lane was going, and so that's all it takes is just that little split-second decision, one move to go your way, not go your way, and we kind of got shuffled back, but making pretty good ground there behind Harvick. We were pushing like crazy, just wide open. It's literally like a video game out there these days, except for it's real life. And it's crazy. It's really crazy. I love Daytona. This place has been amazing for me. Can't believe that this is my final race here. But after going through that experience, I'm glad I only have one more restrictor plate race left.
Yeah, you kind of passed on those early on in your announcements. Jeff, your teammate was dominant. But did you ever think there was a time here, maybe just for my last Daytona, this car is good enough to get me to victory lane?
I think all the Hendrick cars were strong enough to win. But Dale's so good. You get him up front, and he's just so good, picking the lanes, controlling the race, and he's got a fast race car as well, but he does an excellent job. Congrats to those guys. I mean, the restarts, everything, he just did it right, and came away with a great victory for him and for Hendrick Motorsports.
Jeff Gordon unofficially 6th here tonight. Rick?
Yeah, in his final run at Daytona International Speedway. Dale Earnhardt Jr., it's his 10th career restrictor plate win. He has actually won 3 of the last 7 plate races.
Yeah, you see here on page 2, great runs for Casey Mears, David Reagan, Landon Castle, Justin Agar, all these guys look forward to coming to the Speedway races. It really gives them an opportunity to run up front.
We saw Kyle Busch in 17th. Remember, averaged about a 14th place finish if he wants to get into the top 30.
And all these guys obviously didn't get the finishes they wanted, 21st through 30th.
The top 27, when that race ended, only 3 out of the top 27 were not involved in that wreck. We look back through the remainder of the field. Carl Edwards, a very tough night for him. Brian Scott, another disappointing night. The chase grid. Now only 9 races to go before the chase. Jimmy Johnson with 4 wins. Multiple wins now for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He gets his 2nd of the 2015 season.
See Clint Boyer's climbed his way into the top 16. And Ryan Newman, we didn't talk about him all night, but Ryan Newman finished 8th, and now he's 15th in points.
I want to make sure to let you know that any updates we get from the track on the well-being of the fans that were getting the minor injuries attended to, we'll make sure to update you as well as the drivers on NASCAR America today, later today at 5 o'clock. It is just past 3 in the morning Eastern time as Dale Earnhardt Jr. will try to celebrate once again another win at Daytona. NASCAR coverage on NBCSN will continue next week from Kentucky. Saturday, the Sprint Cup Series racing presented by KFC at 6 p.m. Eastern. And Friday, the Xfinity Series racing presented by K&N at 7 p.m. Eastern. A wild ride for quite a few drivers. And once again, Dale Earnhardt Jr. ends up in victory lane at Daytona.